Well, so we just decided to, well, it was initially my idea. I just wanted to get it out of the way, because I do want to go over some of the stuff that the anti-racists were discussing, or say discussing, what the fuck I'm talking about. But when they were all taking turns at their podium to spout nonsense on Saturday just past in Glasgow, but naturally with the time the stream was sort of dragging on a bit, so we didn't manage to go over it all, and with another week, meaning another shitstorm is inevitable in terms of committees, etc., just stands to reason that there'll be a bit too much to kind of go over and whatnot in terms of what to prioritize and what not to prioritize. So, but what better way than to just, spend the last part of today going over a few of the people that were speaking at Saturday's event and listening to the absolute guff that they had to say, amongst a few other things as well, which we'll get to. But obviously, as you can see, I hope you can see, because I don't actually know what the fuck you can see. I need to sort this out. I'm joined by Scots Armour, and I'm joined by Exiled Viking as well. So, how you doing, boys? In fact, Exiled Viking's disappeared again. Is he? I don't know. Oh, wait, add to stream. There we go. My bad. Boomer tech, my bad. But how you doing, lads?
I'm doing not bad.
Good stuff, man. It's a bit late in the day, but there's never too late a time to talk about what needs to be talked about here in Rainbow Unicorn. That's the way I see it, What about yourself, Scott Armour?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks very much for having us on.
Aye, no bother. I thought it was only fitting. We got Steve Kay joining us, of course. One viewer. I'm very fucking popular, as you can tell. Clive Chance rakes in all the views yesterday, and I get one view. That's fine. I'll plod along. I don't give a fuck. And what needs must and all the rest of it. But we got 3 views now. That's a bit better. I didn't want to be totally anticlimactic. We talked about Alyn Smith. Speaking of Alyn Smith, of course, naturally, since we're pinching some content off the stream that was conducted from, I presume, socialists. I don't know what the fuck they are, really. A pro-independence YouTube channel, anyway, let's put it that way. They recorded the anti-racist rally, and they're planning. Is it this? This bit? Yeah, I've got the wrong tab open here. I fucking do. In fact, I knew that was going to happen. I was getting so serious, I don't know if I've shared it or not. Wait, there we go. There we go. Yeah, we just need to get the plugging out of the way. It's only fitting that we shield for Alyn Smith, just temporarily, of course. So they're planning their stream with Alyn Smith soon, and I would suggest that anybody that's watching live or anybody that decides to watch the stream at a later date, they definitely tune in to watch this, because there's not I can't think of a larger intellectual powerhouse than Alyn Smith. He's just, honestly, I think he put Nicola Sturgeon to shame in a debate, a one-on-one, to show who really is the S&P guru here in Rainbow Unicorn Land. Alyn Smith, he told the European Union straight to leave that fucking light on for him, and they told him they would, and to their credit, they've never turned it off, despite the electricity bills being relatively high and whatnot. Alyn Smith demanded that light stayed on, and that light has fucking stayed on. So credit where credit is due. Not many men would be able to order the bureaucrats around the way that Alyn takes it up the arsehole. I shouldn't have said that, actually, but it's only fitting though that you obviously have to tune into what Alyn Smith has to say. He comes away with hot takes such as this bombshell here. This one took me aback. When I first heard it, I have to be honest, to the point where I genuinely wanted to take off my jacket and my jumper. I was getting very warm and, sweaty. I totally agree with what he has to say here. And I just think that we need a man like this. You all need a man like this in your life. Alyn Smith from the S&P.
I want my country to be internationalist, cooperative, ecological, fair, European.
Oh, just so bold, so brave. Of course, the speech of the year, the speech of the decade, in fact, probably the speech of all of our fucking lifetimes, People go on about Winston Churchill and his World War II speeches. No. Alyn Smith and his demands about leaving the light on. That is...
Let's deal with the interlocutors you're dealt. removed from our family of nations against our will, against our clearly democratically expressed our will. Independence will be our only route back. Shakalek, I'm not asking you to solve our domestic discussions. I am asking you to leave a light on so that we can find our way.
I'll never this fucking day take that. That's so fucking gay. Anyway, okay, just piss taking aside, obviously, just having a bit of a laugh because obviously they are planning to have Alyn Smith on for an interview, so I'm going to throw the fucking shit out of that in the comment section when the time comes. But naturally, this is obviously about the anti-racism shit show that took place on Saturday in Glasgow. It's not the first time we've seen anti-racist protests, rallies, and whatnot.
Can I just jump in, mate?
Aye, on you go, sorry. Hello?
Is it not quite beautiful and fitting that Alyn Smith stands in the Parliament and will say, leave a light on so we can find our way home for just a few years down the line for Putin to smash that light right fucking off? Epic.
I just remembered that video I sent you. I've got it's like, what was it? 55% of people has gotten voted to Exiled Viking again after stream. Sorry, I didn't even realize you left again. You know, if this is going to be a running theme, you're in for trouble, like, because I'm still getting fucking used to how this all works, by the way. So I didn't even know you were there. But what was it? He said 55% of people voted to what was it? To stay in the UK, to remain in the EU, and 45% of people voted to leave the UK to remain in the EU. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So essentially, irrespective of what you voted, you're voting to remain in the EU. It's like, what? It makes no sense. That's Alyn Smith, but you're like, everything's about the EU and fucking leaving that light on, you know? Oh, fuck's sake. Have you heard much about Alyn Smith, Exiled Viking? Like, I mean, you sound like you're from that neck of the woods, or you know, same sort of area. Please don't tell me he represents you.
To be perfectly honest, resisting the lies, I don't really know the person. The name I've only become familiar with in the last couple of days, mostly from yourself. But I do know of the name, but I've been blissfully ignorant to all the usual because I know the party that he's rooting for. So yeah. I
mean, to be fair, I mean, I don't think anybody will blame you for not knowing who he was because for the longest time he was in the European Parliament.
Yeah.
Well, he's only now recently returned back to the UK, but it was just that fucking speech.
He should have stayed in Brussels. Do us all a favor,
especially when he came away with that. You know, I'm not asking you to get involved in our discussions. I'm asking you to leave a light on. Oh, fuck off. That's
so cringe. Yeah.
Right. And so, obviously, the vast majority of this video was people just waddling about, doing their thing. But the speeches, I can't remember who was on first. And I suppose we don't really need to go over too much of the few speeches that we did cover in the stream. It'd be a bit pointless to kind of rehash old ground, I guess. Apart from maybe the end of that Alyn Smith speech, because I'm almost certain it's him that says that thing about ending racism by eradicating borders or border fences. What the fuck? But you know, say you really feel, pal. But you know, that's obviously what they want, is it not? You know, a borderless world, or at the very bare minimum, our countries to be borderless. So there's him there, speak of the devil. So I'll just get these up for you here, like, but so what you want to do, Scots? You want to kind of just skip the few that we covered in your stream, including that dickhead Hamza?
Mate, whatever you do, just go mate. Just make sure that Jimmy Savile's not on the stream. That cunt's still freaking me out.
Right. See where we're at. Wait. So here we go. Right. So, here where because he meant they said this yesterday, but we never played it. I moved on about it. Towards the end of the speech, he rattles off a rake of names, and it's the first time I've ever heard the boy's name be mentioned by any of these people before. He mentions Chris Donald, but he mentions his name in a list of BAMEs. Now, I haven't gone through the list of BAMEs that he mentions, but I would highly suggest at some point either I do it or somebody else does it. Go through that list of names with a fine tooth, and if it transpires that all the names he's mentioned there are people that have died, and he's just assuming they died because they're black or whatever, and he's put them in the same fucking list as Chris Donald, and this is just another example of how this man is the epitome of a dickhead. But I can't say for certain, so I won't say too much. But anyway.
Themselves in blue and yellow. In 2015, Europe's leaders screamed about migrant crisis against the 1.4 million refugees fleeing war in Syria. Yet the same countries have absorbed 2 million Ukrainians within days. No rubber dickies, but free tickets on the Eurostars. What is the difference? Europe never had a migrant crisis. It had a racism crisis. In every city, in every country, to fight for freedom, that should give us hope. It should give us hope that one day our children will have a future where their lives are lived by the Stephen Lawrences, the Imran Khans, the Chris Donalds, the Simon Sand, the Ivan Sheikhs, the Sheikh Ubayos, the Farzad Dags, and all the island girlies, that they will be commemorated for the lives that they lived rather than lost. Thank you.
Well, I noticed he said Alan Kurdi at the end. That's the wee boy that they say drowned at sea or at the ocean on the way over to Europe via the so-called Syrian refugee crisis. I don't really understand why he's in the same fucking list as I reckon these people that you rattled off there. But as I said, I was very taken aback when you mentioned Chris Donalds, because 9 times out of 10 that doesn't get a mention. He doesn't get a mention at all. So going so far as in actual anti-racist resources that I've covered before on my channel, they go they start talking about racism, etc., in Scotland. Obviously, it was anti-racist resources. Chris Donald doesn't get a mention in Scottish resources, but guess who does? Stephen fucking Lawrence. Why is Stephen Lawrence getting mentioned as an example of racism, etc., in Scotland, and Chris Donald doesn't even get a mention? So that was probably one of my first ever like face-to-face realizations that these people were just malevolent bastards. We're going back maybe a year, 2 years ago or something, when I was first looking into anti-racism. I was absolutely stunned that they didn't mention the boy's name once throughout any of the resources that I went through. Stephen Lawrence talked about time after time after time. And he even had that dickhead Graham Campbell, remember Scots last year, and he was inviting Stephen Lawrence's family up to commemorate him on the anniversary of his death. And then what was it they did as well? They passed a motion for Stephen Lawrence's family. I mean, I just think that's a fucking insult. And it's the same city as Chris Donald, but they don't ever mention that boy's name, And I'm off the belief, if you're going to fucking start talking about racism and, atrocities that have occurred, you lump them all in together and you celebrate a day for them or whatever you do. You don't just pick and choose which children you're going to fucking talk about and celebrate. It's a fucking disgrace. I don't know what you've got to say on that,
Do you know what? I'll let Exiled Viking go first on
that. You sure? Well, I don't mind if you guys want to continue for. I don't mind.
Oh no, I don't want to fucking ramble away.
No. Good man. I always enjoy a ramble.
Right. The thing that really gets me with this is he talks and says Europe had a racism crisis. Totally glosses over in 15 Islamic nations round about. The only country that willfully actually took people in was Turkey, which eventually Turkey would then go on to use as blackmail leverage to give us what we want, or we'll just basically plug all these folks into Europe. So for a guy to stand there and spout so much shite is baffling for the cowards in the crowd to go, woo, instead of calling him out for his racist connotations and his hateful speech towards ethnic European peoples, looking after ethnic European peoples. It's totally bizarre. But then again, I'm not surprised considering half that fucking independence cult that stand out in that fucking George Square or Freedom Square or whatever fucking hippie name they're calling it nowadays, have the fucking IQ about the fucking collective of Uganda. So that's what you're up against.
And the thing about it as well with that guy that was just on that Alyn Anwar, he's obviously like I think he's a human rights lawyer or something. But see, during for one of the most over the top like behaviors that I ever seen from him was during the George Floyd or just after the George Floyd trial. It was concluded there. And his whole Twitter was just dedicated to Black Lives Matter. I was like, is anybody going to tell this prick that he's not fucking black for a kickoff? Like, you know, he was like, oh, this is a step in the right direction for racial equality. You know, it's like, oh, I forgot Derek Chauvin just got convicted of racism. You know, could have fucking fool be like, but you know, that's the way that he operates. Of course, he views the world through the anti-racist lens. So if you've got somebody like that in a position, such as a human rights lawyer, stands to reason that his job is essentially to ensure that every BAME that rocks up on a English or Scottish shoreline on their inflatable boats, they can't be deported because, you know, it's a breach of human rights. And I can guarantee he will do everything in his power to ensure that as many BAMEs remain in the country as possible. I mean, he played a pivotal role in that Kenmure Street theatre, if you ask me. The whole fucking thing reeks of a total, like, psyop from start to finish, the more you look at it. Like, but nonetheless, the narrative presented was he climbed into the back of the van with them and whoever else was in there. And they must have had some secret talks in the back of the fucking van. And they all emerged together and the crowd cheered and everybody went home. And that was the end of the beautiful story of the two Indian men who'd outstayed their welcome. All thanks to Alyn Anwar, the Pakistani dickhead, who tells you he's Scottish 1 minute while simultaneously, you know, clinging on his heritage, sign it irritates me. But Kajida Muhammad as well, while I'm on the subject quickly, I know I'm fucking rambling and whatnot, but I want to show you.
You have a bot in the chat.
Do I? Oh wait, I might need a mod or something. Fuck's sake. I'm still getting used to this shit. Like, who I can make you a mod, I can make that's making a time. Wait, no, I fucking time you out. There you go. I'll give you a fucking spanner. Kajida Muhammad. Look at this. This was the first time I ever seen Kajida Muhammad, right, teaching in a diverse. They're fucking still come up like just the first like little exchange. There she fucking is it. And this was back in the day when she used to speak really funny. She seems to speak quite coherently during her time on the podium to spout fucking nonsense. But back then she spoke very strangely. So as you'll see here. Fuck off. Come on. There we go. Wait to hear this bombshell from Kajida Muhammad.
I started off using the word diversity every time I was to deliver a lecture. It would be around
the fucking nose of the two, you know what I mean? It's that chimpanzee's boner.
Cultural diversity. And I wondered whether I did that because it was safe, it was comfortable to use the word diversity. But actually, I have now started, I have a dislike to the word now. And I think diversity is too flowery. It's too soft. And I think it doesn't actually get the message across. And I think when institutions start to use terms like diversity, are we in danger, perhaps, I don't know, of losing the critical edge of issues around social justice and equality? So actually, when I now deliver a lecture to the students in my institution, I will actually not actually talk about diversity. I'll say I'm going to talk to you about white privilege and whiteness theory.
Oh, I bet you that's a fucking riveting educational session, eh? But yeah, that's Kajida Muhammad. So it just never ends. I mean, it really never ends. I mean, I could do one better than that, but I've wasted enough time. She won an award in 2019 as well, and guess who presented her with the fucking award? I guess, boys. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my video or not. But no. I think it's worse than that. Just think. Anybody in Scotland that could have presented her with that award, who do you think it was?
Not Thin Lips.
I fucking stretch. fucking and the photo on Google Images of that, and they're both start there smiling, big cheesy grins. Well, I say sturgeon. You know, there was no lip by that point, so it's just teeth. But you know, holding on tight to the award that was presented for her promotion of inequality. You know, no equality. Sorry, I mean you couldn't fucking make it up. You know, of course, Nicola Sturgeon would present her with a fucking award, but
you never misses a shot.
No, it's just never ends. So, but we played most of her shit anyway, if I'm not mistaken, so we can move on. Like, Rabina Qureshi, she's the woman that runs the housing. You know, to get the immigrants or the refugees, etc., into social housing. She doesn't want them being in the hotels. She wants them all to be in housing accommodation and whatnot. So her speech was probably the least irritating out of a lot of them, because she seems to spend more time criticising the governments, both the SNP and Westminster, for apparently not including all these refugee organisations. They're kind of doing it themselves to take credit, essentially. So I was like, all right, on you go. You sit there and shit on them all day. You'll do my job for me. So I'll play it like, but I'll just speed it up a bit, because it might be a sign of interest that I fucking forgot. But fuck it, I know.
I'm the indifference of governments to the global refugee crisis by lending a helping hand to men, women, and children. So that programme has helped people through the destitution crisis for asylum seekers from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Iran, from Eritrea, from Yemen since 2002. We've helped people during the Park Inn tragedy in 2020, the Syrian refugee crisis in 2015, during the Afghan crisis in 2021, the Serbo elections in 2019, and now the Ukraine crisis. These are refugees. But we're concerned about the UK government's Homes for Ukraine sponsorship scheme. On an industrial scale, the UK government has gathered 156,000 signatures and expressions of interest and goodwill from members of the public. They've asked you to volunteer to provide homes in there. And only now the government has admitted that only a tiny fraction of those people will ever see a Ukrainian refugee. Not only that, instead of gathering people's signatures, they've ignored every...
Did you say stop, boy? No? No, I thought somebody said stop, because I've got to keep my mic next to the speaker here. So whenever somebody makes a fucking noise, it just blares from a speaker. Well, I didn't know if somebody said stop or not. But as I said, this is probably like the least riveting speech of a lot of them. So I just wanted to play it so you can see what I was talking about in terms of she starts going on about the SNP and Westminster both being equally complicit in stealing everybody's data, etc. But so let's get to some proper games, I suppose.
My name is Pilar Axel, campaigner and from Medical Integration Network. As it's been said, it's so amazing to see so many people here. And now is the time for solidarity. We have a racist nationality and borders bill, which is now being discussed and is going to be discussed next week in the House of Commons. If this bill passes...
So I actually don't know very much about that, but I have heard on about that an awful lot, this borders bill. But that in and of itself, they're doing that. The shit they always do. They're calling it racist, you know? And the reason they're insinuating it's racist is because they're implying that they're just going to prevent blacks and browns from entering the UK. I mean, not only is that fucking delusional, because that's not what we ever seem to see entering the UK, let's be honest, you know, legally and illegally, but you know, if in theory this bill, if it was genuinely going to prevent illegal dinghy brigades from crossing the channel, it wouldn't really matter what colour you were, you would be prevented. So don't say it's fucking racist if they were white. But do you have anything to say on that bill? Like, I genuinely don't know very much about it, apart from allegedly it's supposed to be put in place to prevent people from crossing the channel illegally or some shit. Whether or not that ever comes to pass is anybody's guess, but...
Well, I can just quickly say that to these clowns, racism, it means basically anything which goes against their narrative. I mean, even just saying what's wrong with going the legal route, that's enough to have you called a racist anyway, as we all know. The Borders Bill, you know inevitably who it's going to benefit. Certainly not going to be people from Europe or South Africa. It's going to be anyone with a suntan, usually from southern hemisphere, like or Asia, Africa, and places like, as you know, inevitably, as you just said, resisting. They're the only people who we see coming into the country in masses.
Yeah.
But of course, I would prefer that. I said this recently in a comment that personally, I don't want any more refugees or anybody coming to the UK. But if we have to take in a small percentage, I would much rather have European genuine refugees in small numbers and all the illegals mass deported. But again, that's wishful thinking because it's never going to happen.
No. I mean, that sign has pissed me off. I think I said that in one of the videos that I made recently. I don't know. I've said it recently because it's going to ring a bell when I say it again. But it's like they seem to forget the fact that for all the shit that's been going on for years, so all the way back to the Syrian quote-unquote refugee crisis, like from the beginning of that, within a matter of days, we were seeing people exploiting that. You know, the Syrian resettlement scheme in Scotland, for example, how the fuck did that end up accommodating Africans, etc.? There's blatantly people that were jumping on the bandwagon and claiming asylum falsely because of all the namby-pamby rhetoric and the red carpet routine that was rolled out. So naturally, when people, it doesn't matter if you're people like us or you're just an average person, you know, who doesn't really pay much attention, but they're seeing it themselves. Everybody can see that there's been blatant exploitation at play here. People falsely claiming asylum. So naturally, stands to reason is going to get to a point where people, a lot of people, whether like us or not like us, are just like, no, I don't want any more. But to these people, they see it as every single person that's claiming asylum, they're all fleeing war and persecution, etc., etc. So they go into this state of panic and shock and disgust that you would even suggest such a thing. Oh, we can't be putting things in place to prevent people from coming here. They're fleeing war. No, hypothetically speaking, of course, because I don't think that the Westminster are doing anything that is in any remote shape or form beneficial for us as a nation or as a fucking island and whatnot. You know, but hypothetically speaking, of course, you could make the argument in an ideal world that a bill could be put in place to prevent people from exploiting the system. Because guess what? People have been exploiting the fucking system. You know? So that's what begs belief to me, that these people are just, they never acknowledge that. They never acknowledge it. The amount of chancing bastards that are in our country, especially, I mean, fucking Scotland's full of Africans, and it's a Syrian resettlement scheme. Now, what part of fucking Syria did the Congolese come from? Like, you know, or the Senegalese, or the Gambians, the Nigerians, etc. And then even when the Glasgow rape gang was uncovered and finally revealed to the public, the nationalities that were incorporated were not Turkish, Moroccan, etc. What part of Syria is that?
Exactly. I recently was looking at the list of countries where all the so-called refugees were coming from, and as far as I know, gentlemen, Kenya, Ghana, Botswana, and other sub-Saharan countries, who's bombing them? There's no wars going on there, and yet these guys are lumping up on the English coast, claiming, "I am a refugee, I am fleeing war."
Yeah, well, the UN have done a doozy there, though, now, because they've now incorporated climate change as a reason for refugee status or asylum application.
Yeah.
So now they just talk about, I'm fleeing climate change. Oh, well, you know?
I just see them for what they are. Illegal fucking economic migrants. Sorry, exactly, but it really boiled my blood with all the blatant lies, and every brain-dead fuck-knuckle swallows it hook, line, and sinker. Anyway,
and you have to insufferable dross like this from these twats. But Scott, are you still there, Scott? I can't see you.
I am, mate. All
right. Have you got anything to add there from our intellectual hot takes? Can you match our prowess?
Again, it baffles me, because if people are coming into Europe for the Middle East, they're going to obviously take the Turkey, Greece route. If they're coming over from North Africa, they're obviously going to go through Portugal, Spain, or Italy, technically speaking. At that given point, they're not fleeing war. Bottom line of it, they're known. I'm not saying that in a way where the other European countries have to take them, but as Exiled Viking just said there, you have people from Botswana. Botswana's like at the lower part of Africa. I dare say they must travel through a good 20, 25 countries to get to North Africa.
Yeah.
Not every one of them. There is war and everything. So where do you draw the line? If there's no line to be drawn, then the public have to draw a line for the government. and if the public do that, they're being labelled dissidents, racists, bigots. So no matter what, you just have to put up and shut up.
Exactly.
But many people like us, we are. It's not that we're too prideful. We're just damn right within our rights to call it out and say it's bullshit. It should not be happening. Again, as Exile said, we have a duty first and foremost to our people that are on the streets, to our people that are vulnerable. If there is anything that's happening, we'll just take the Ukraine example because they're European. We'll take in a small handful of them. Let's hopefully that shit over there gets sorted out, and then the Europeans, in most cases, will probably go back to their homeland, rebuild it, shape it, and then just live the rest of their days hopefully in peace. These people don't seem to do that. These people want to come over, they want to deter, they want to get institutional gain, they want to get educational gain. In most cases as well, to come over, they burden the institutions, education system in particular, where many African kids, say for example, they're saying they're 11, 12, 13, when in reality they're actually 14, 15, 16. They're trying to lure kids or couples to give them an edge so that they're going to be of a decent education a little later in life. These are things that have been proven to be true. If there's anything that's fleecing the system, it's the same people every single time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can I just quickly add a wee point here, gentlemen? These other countries that I listed off, sure, they might not be great, but one thing is they're relatively safe countries, and the near countries like Botswana, Zambia, Ghana, they're actually safe countries for these people to go and seek refuge, because after all, they have very similar cultures. I just don't know why all this agenda is spun, and people seem to fall for it. Well, the idiots, we know who they are, but the majority of normal people know it's all absolute BS.
You often hear, it's like one of the most cliche statements from these people, like, you know, the pundits on the TV and whatnot, or even your bowl-cut thin lips, all the parliamentarians and whatnot. They all say that, oh, they're fleeing for a better life. I don't give a fuck if they're fleeing for a better life. Yeah, since when was that justification to come rock up my shoreline and claim asylum because you're fleeing poverty? So that's not my fucking problem. Like, that's not a justifiable excuse to claim asylum. But because of the way that these people, you know, your Green parties, your Labour parties, your Lib Dems, the SNP, the way that they bend over backwards, roll out the red carpet, taking every opportunity to, you know, gush their emotions and, you know, essentially begging these people to come here, you know. Yeah. That's the reason they're obviously going to come here, eh? You know, I'd do the same. But the reality of the matter is, not a justifiable reason to come over here because you're fleeing poverty. Sorry, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a fucking legitimate, legal justification to claim asylum. So how they're getting away with it is anybody's guess. And the other thing I was going to say as well is that obviously, currently as things stand, you know, national identity still exists to, you know, to a certain degree. You know, it's a bit more difficult in America now. You stand a white guy up and a black guy up, and you where are they from? You might fucking not have a clue where they're from. But you know what a Scotsman looks like. You know what an Englishman looks like, etc. And obviously in Graham Campbell's little world, he wants you to be completely dumbfounded when it comes to guessing what a Scotsman looks like, etc., etc. But what my point to that is, when it comes to the Ukrainians, for example, or even the Syrians, or the Afghanis, right? If a boatload of quote-unquote Afghanis is expected to rock up on your shoreline, and it's not Afghanis or people that look like Afghanis that climb off the boat, and it's jet black fucking men, stands to reason that you've got people who are trying to fleece you, right? You know, they're clearly not Afghani, they're clearly not Syrian, clearly not Ukrainian. So I'd like an explanation as to how every fucking hotel in Scotland, a lot of them anyway, that are now starting to fill up with these people, a lot of them are African. Why are we like, what the fuck? Do these people not, when they rock up and they get you know, escorted off the boats into the detention centers or whatnot, do these people not take one look at them and go, well, you're clearly not from fucking Ukraine, or you're clearly not from Syria, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Okay, 100, 200 years time from now, when everybody comes from everywhere, global citizenship and all that shit, you might have a bit of an issue trying to guess where people are from and proving where people are from. But currently, as things stand, a jet black man ain't fucking Ukrainian. I'm just saying,
I totally agree with you. The blackest people, I'm just going by what I have heard. The darkest Africans come from the Congo. They're so black, they're almost blue. And if you stand them in a dark lane and they shut their eyes and mouth, you will not see them. They'd be invisible. And that's not racist.
Like when you see the media going on about like, oh, you know, the latest shipment of Syrians have turned up in, you know, Estonia, and it's like these fucking jet black men with noodle hair, and they're like, they're not fucking Syrian. What are you talking about?
But DJ, the thing is, right? It's like Exiled said there about other people, and especially sub-Saharans going to like countries like Ghana, where they're actually wanting to get a lot of people into the country to raise the value of the country, to raise the standard in society within the country. They actually want to champion their own people, right? And I think that's extremely not just a good thing for Africans, but it's an important thing, right, to try and be a leader to shape the modern future going forward, right? But as it stands right now, right, with many sub-Saharan countries, and it's no disrespect, right, their IQs are very low, and they really, really have a volatile nature. So bring them into a country like the UK. What is it they're going to be doing? Are they going to be in places like Torquay, Blackpool, Portobello Beach with a Brenda stag do to have selling fucking sunglasses? Because realistically, they can't do much.
Mm-hmm.
All they can do is harass the females. You're right there, Scots Armour. A lot of them have very volatile. Their natures are so bad-tempered, and it doesn't take much to set them off. And other Africans have actually told me about the hatred and racism going on amongst other African countries, that a lot of the guys are misogynistic. In fact, this was a Kenyan guy I went to my college with, and he came legally with his family as a child, but they were from a well-off family. But he basically said, you need to watch a lot of these guys. They are very misogynistic. Look after your women, because these people just see them as fucking meat. No, then of course, that's my best African accent. But at the time, I was very Sibnati, and I just thought, what the hell is this guy talking about? Just another black with a black. But now it makes perfect sense. The worst of the worst are coming here. And as you said, they're never going to integrate. They have bad attitudes, and they especially hate white people, and they think, well, white women are carnal booty or something to basically conquer and claim as your own property. Well, I beg to differ.
Yeah. And all this is happening without legal or illegal. All this has been happening at a time where, for the longest time, but it's accelerated in recent years, especially. We're being, well, not so much as it goes in one ear and out the other when I hear this bullshit. But, you know, the common talking point of the day is, you know, the racism and slavery, etc., etc. So you're importing a bunch of, as you call them, volatile, whatever, you know, people that hate you in your country en masse, year on year, annually, legally and illegally, every route possible, while you're simultaneously telling these people that they're owed something, you know, because of how hard done by their ancestors were. That's asking for fucking trouble, you know. It makes no fucking sense. Like,
it's a bad combination. It's like if you are basically deer, it's like giving a hunter the gun to kill you. Just don't arm the hunter. It's a bad mix, letting your enemies come in en masse, especially when you know the feelings they harbor and the resentment towards people they perceive as being conquerors and basically scum of the earth. I don't think the politicians clearly give a shit, because nobody can be that stupid to think, oh, this is a great idea. Let them in. They'll become civilized. No, I'm sorry, but they will never become civilized. And I don't mean that as a generalization. I'm just going by a fact, because if they were capable of being civilized, none of these problems that we have from immigrants would be happening, if you catch what I'm meaning.
Aye, well, that as well as that, too many are coming in at the one time. Eh? I mean, you're not going to, like, in order to, you know, start to become acclimatized to our way of life, you would obviously, in theory, have to have a lot less coming in at the one time. But even the mere promotion of the term multiculturalism kind of blows the whole thing out of fucking proportion, because instead of them all assimilating to our culture, it's promoting everybody's culture. So naturally, everybody homes in their own way, and they've got no reason to integrate, etc. So as their communities expand, it's just essentially a diaspora population from wherever they came from, and they say, well, exist over there, start here. But it's a strength, apparently, diversity.
Ethnic societies, because the whole multiculturalism is a dream. It's a fantasy of the progressives. It will never work, because if it was such a great thing, we would not have all these ghettoizations, all these separate communities. We would all be mixing together, hanging out and partying. That, unfortunately, is a dream.
And it was such a great thing then the first empire that fell due to the opening of their borders, way back in the fucking day. Every empire's pretty much followed the same way. Wow. And they start opening their borders, and they promote the dream of multiculturalism, and it seems to destroy every fucking society it touches over time. So maybe we're in the death throes of ours, and maybe that's a good thing.
Well, I hope
for me to decide.
I just hope that we can eventually have enough common sense, even the idiots can wake up out of their stupor and start voting tactfully to get rid of the parties which are allowing this. Because until they do that, they are all part of the problem. And unfortunately, gentlemen, the ballot box is never going to get us anywhere if enough people don't vote tactfully and wake up in time. Because I see,
and I don't mean to be Mr. Debbie Downer here, but people in Govanhill, the biggest shithole in the whole of Scotland, still vote for Nicola Sturgeon, despite the fact they're the biggest shithole. So, I mean, if they ain't woken up yet, I don't know where the fuck we'll wake them up. But yeah, boys, I better press on a bit with this, because obviously I don't want to keep you up all fucking night. And
don't worry, I'm wide awake. I'm enjoying this.
Well. I can ramble and fucking ramble, but poor wee Scots Armour is very quiet. I don't know if he's fallen asleep or if he's disinterested, or if I don't know if he's still there. I can't see. So,
I just got a private message for us. It just said, I need to drop out. My internet is playing up. I'll try sort it and come back.
Right. Okay, I didn't even know because I can't see. Because I don't know if there's a way for me to have a chat. Unless I was to get my phone, maybe, and I can look at the chat that way. Because it makes me look like I'm pure ignorant, ignoring the chat. But it's just purely because I'm on my screen.
I'm on my phone, but I have to switch between screens. I don't have a running separate screen with my computer or my phone. I just have to do it all in one. But I just noticed that because the wee message was flashing.
Nice. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Right, sound. Oh, that would explain why it's quiet.
Sorry, Anna, I forgot to mention this. When you mentioned the Govanhill, you see the stock that are now in there. The white natives of there are all dwindling as it's now taken over by the people we are not allowed to criticise. I actually passed through there about 4 months ago, and honest to God, one guy, the dirty look he gave me just for being the wrong skin colour, I didn't want to say him because he was twice my size, but I knew that he was ready to start a fight or try to start an argument. But this is what you're already now getting, the start of the no-go areas for white people. And he's one of the enforcers, or a wannabe, basically. But I looked at him in the corner of my eye and I thought, I just keep walking to Victoria Road, because this son of a bitch is just looking for an excuse to jump on me and call 20,000 brothers to join him, because he's
so far I don't have that much of an issue with that shit up here. As I said before, it seems like or even
I want to move there. I mean it. I would
never had to think about race at all until I was a lot older. I see a lot of my old videos are now deleted, but I used to be, obviously, as I've said before, I was more into conspiracies, hence my name, Resisting the Lies. And then I wasn't some hot take to get the S&P, and that's because I was into conspiracies and stuff. But I remember my actual transition when I started to become red pilled on these subjects. Bit by bit, I remember reacting to articles and stuff where they were shitting on white people, and I was like, well, what have white people done? What have we done? I didn't understand it. I was so naive. I remember people in my chat oh, you got so much to learn, and it's fucking right. But my point is, where I grew up, you just didn't have to deal with that shit here, And I find that very interesting that I grew up in essentially an ethno state, demographically speaking, percentage-wise and whatnot, and we never had to think about race. But the minute it starts to become diverse and you start to import people from other parts of the world, all of a sudden it becomes an issue. All of a sudden we now need to start talking about it. And it's very strange that. So maybe, and this is just a theory, right? Maybe the best way to stop the tension and stop the so-called racism they claim exists is to separate. But instead of that, they want to shove as many people in together as possible. And it just seems to create problems. Problems. It's I think the problem is differences. We don't belong together. And if we did belong together and this was always a great concept, then we would all be, BAME now. We would all be mixed race. But the fact is we're not. All across the world today, every fucking culture and group of people, they're all still the same. For thousands of years.
Well, it's one key word here, DJ, and it will describe the situation beautifully. Incompatibility.
Oh,
we have nothing in common with sub-Saharans or Middle Easterns who subscribe to a different lifestyle, different way of thinking. So if they populated us with Christians, Europeans, I think you would actually have less of these conflicts and less problems. Sure, there will still be crimes, but we will have one thing in common. We're all Christians and we're all from European stock. Yeah. We have that thing in common.
But I'll say as well, like too many Polish and whatnot, I still find to be an issue because they create their own enclaves as well. Because it's a natural thing to do. And I'm not like having a go at any group for doing that. I mean, I would probably do the same if I moved to a different country. I would go and try and find my own people, Even just in a school setting, we'd move to my high school. When I was in high school, a lot of Polish kids started moving to the area, like right on cue. The Polish found their own little bit in the school to hang about. It's just what you do. You find your own, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I just think that instead of this fucking scenario that we're all in, where people will try to find their own in and amongst a fucking massive group of people, let them be with their own. They don't part.
You know what is the problem, DJ? It's not the nationalities. It's just there are far too many of these people. Even from European stock, there's far too many have come at once. I mean, initially when Poland joined in 2004, the idiot lying son of a bitch, Tony Blair, said, "Oh, it will only be a trickle coming in. It won't be so many either. It will not outprice or outsource." But the thing is, millions came within a few short years, and then we had Hungary, Romania, all these countries, far too many of these people here. And it basically prices people out of houses, drives the wages down, and it really fucks everything up. And as you said already, they prefer their own people, so they become their own communities, because around my area, there's lots of Polish shops. I mean, I've been into a few. The shop owners are friendly enough, chatty, but a lot of the products, I don't even know any of them. They're all from Eastern Europe.
Oh, yeah. I've always thought that weird shit.
Even cigarettes with Polish warnings, and I felt to say, did you smuggle them in or did you have an arrangement? But they're obviously smuggled in, because there's no way that would be allowed into the UK legally.
Probably not. Probably not. Like, right, 2 seconds. I'll skip this a bit, because obviously these speeches go on for quite some time, so I have to try and strike a bit of a balance between rambling too much in terms of the stream going too long, people getting disinterested, or just in general going too long. I mean, look at my first fucking stream that I did, with a bit with Scots Armour, but that went 5 fucking hours. I'm on my throat for about 3 days after that. I sounded like Doc Cotton, but I'll play a bit more of this. See what she's. I can't even remember her speech. I must have been out of the room or something when she played the other day. But then it's the guy from the Scottish Refugee Council. I remember his speech. And then it's the Shaniqua bird who's look to your left and look to your right. And what do you see? And you
look to your left, look to your right. Yeah, I know. Oh, it's hilarious. I've seen that already, but I'll play again.
Aye, fuck it. Right. I'm just going to pause it very quickly. I'm just getting so sick of these people who come from other parts of the world standing in our country and saying, yeah, the country that I'm a visitor in, it's open to everybody. Like, you don't get to make that fucking choice. I know Nicola Sturgeon, if she was standing there, she'd say the same thing, but that's not the point. She's not standing there. You are a refugee, a foreigner in a foreign land, and you're calling out to your people from all over the world. My diaspora, come to me. It's open to all. It's a fuck like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sick of all the tribe, because none of them are grateful. They're just hostile natives, and they're not even grateful. Then they just shit all over the indigenous people, and that's the thanks they give us for letting them stay and giving them a chance to better themselves. And they say stuff like, "A racist country. Look to your left, look to your right. All racists." Yeah.
Okay. And she looks identical to that Rosa Sally. I don't know if you remember her from the SGP elections last year. I mean, she looks like it must be her sister or something, surely.
Now, I would like to introduce Rose Boyer, who is the SDUC General Secretary. A huge welcome to Rose.
One thing I always wonder, why do people have to shout when there's a microphone in their face? Don't they realise they're already amplified?
But well, come on, I mean, look where they come from. I mean, they probably don't even have microphones over there. No, my mistake. They probably did have microphones, but when we went over and plundered all the resources, we stole them.
No. It's nothing worse than a microphone and somebody shouting. I was once in a pub. Can I just say this very quickly? And I upset the guy. There was a pub quiz, and the guy, instead of talking, just starts shouting. And I just said, "Excuse me, pal, do you really need to shout? We don't want to get deaf here. People can hear you all the way over there." "Oh, well, excuse me, but I'm trying to do my quiz, and you're very offensive." I said, "And you're very loud." And I was leaving. I slammed my empty glass down, and I thought, what a twat.
Man, you're not asking for a square go in a pub like with attitude.
I had dreadlocks. He was a lefty. Oh, fluke.
Oh, fucking lefty. Oh.
Yeah.
Never had a confrontation with one of them, but I think I'd find it.
You're lucky. None around your area, obviously.
No, there is, I think. Well, the George Floyd shit showcased that there was quite clearly some, but they seem to be in hiding. Kind of like that film, what's it, the Will Smith, the fucking zombie thing. Maybe they just come out. I Am Legend, they just come out at certain parts of the day when nobody's about.
Men in Black.
No, I Am Legend, I think it is. It's a zombie film, fuck it, doesn't matter. But the point is, I think maybe they hide in the crevices of society in Inverness, and they just come out when nobody's about. Go out for a bit of sunlight, bit of vitamin D, pick their nose, and then fuck off back to jail or bowl cut or whatever they do. I don't know. Anyway.
The STUC is proud to be here today to stand up to racism, and we are proud to stand alongside trade unionists, community activists, members of the STUC Black Workers Committee, and veterans of the Battle of Kenmure Street.
Fucking what the fuck? Veterans of the Battle of Kenmure Street. You veterans. I mean, the way that they all talk, man, like comrades, sisters, resistance, the resistance, all this nonsense. Veterans. What are you fucking veterans? You stood there with fucking placards. I mean,
cultural Marxism right there in front of you. That's cultural Marxism.
No, it's a very cringy fucking form of it, And it's fucking embarrassing. Fucking veterans. What are you talking about? Like, as if giving off the impression that it was a fight. They won the fight. They won the war. What war? As I said earlier, I'm pretty sure the whole thing was a psyop. But
I think so too.
Absolutely, the way that the media were there and like they all had their little they all had the proverbial, the things you see at these Labour protests and not to stand up to racism, little cards that they all hold up, all printed on masks and whatnot. So they were all just fucking sitting in their houses, and they all just at the same time got wind of two Indian men who'd outstayed their welcome potentially.
It's very clearly they're all part of a group, and the online call-out comes.
And I love the way remember as well, they tried to make it, and they're doing this on Eid of all days. I was Islamophobic. You're not even fucking Muslim. The fuck, like.
Exactly. They were Sikhs. They're Punjabis.
Yeah. But they were doing that for as long as they could get away with it. So they're doing on Eid. How dare they?
You know what it is, DJ? Because they're not white. If they two guys were from Romania or somewhere, they wouldn't have batted an eyelid. They would have just a handful of people, and they would not have done much. It's because of where they're from, and they have got an anti-white agenda.
But I mean, if they pick two people, for example, or just people in general, that the Home Office has decided one day to go, I'm in the mood to boot some people out. Let's just boot X, Y, Z out, and like they had actually done nothing wrong. They were citizens via the migration route or whatever. And you might have had a point with your wee protest, but the fact of the matter is they did everything in their power to prevent the Home Office from taking two people away who had no legal grounds to be in the country anymore. They were doing a fucking job. They weren't being racist, or whatever you will. But
they were just doing their job. They had the authority to detain them. And what these idiots were doing was basically obstructing the Queen's servants from doing the work of the Crown, I think they call it. So if anything, those idiot activists, the lawyer and all that, they should have been prosecuted for obstructing authority.
Or at the very, I would even argue that the SNP should have been in trouble for that because it was blatantly them that were, sort of subconsciously, well, maybe not the right word. They were fucking giving it the green light, endorsing it from start to finish. They were very careful in how they worded it, so they couldn't exactly be like pinpoint blamed if it was to be taken to a tribunal or whatever. But it was them from start to finish. Exactly. There was like 12 different tweets. Hamza Yusuf, giving updates that he was on the phone to the Home Office, and Sturgeon was on the phone, etc., etc. Fuck off, like fuck off.
Yeah.
I get a phone call from Nicola Sturgeon. We wanted to stay. Fuck off! Like, put the phone down. Anyway, right.
In our workplaces and in our communities, and it's good to see Glasgow among the many cities around the world that are marking the UN Anti-Racism Day, because it's important that we recognise that Scotland isn't immune to racism.
Oh.
And Scottish workers are not immune to racism. And the climate of fear is created by the Tory government and their allies as they try to split our class and get us to blame the most vulnerable and disadvantaged in our society for the economic inequalities that we
Jake, can you pause for a second, please? I just want to say, in response to what she says, the way she words it, you would think that all the ethnic minorities were actively being beaten up in the street the minute outside of their home, and everybody is shouting abuse and throwing things. Absolute baloney. This is the way it's so retarded that they make it sound like we're all out, it's like open season, and we're all abusing them, beating them up, hanging them, and doing also. Which, you know what, I have never seen that ever happen. Just verbal abuse from occasional scummies, but not in the size quantity that she's making it out to be.
No, exactly, yeah. And as well, I never addressed it because I've addressed it 1,000 times before, because a common theme on my channel is I point to the patterns that they all, following a common theme again. But she goes on about Scotland's not immune to racism, etc. I've lost count of how many times I hear that shit. Another common talking point from them that they'll say something along the lines of, we in Scotland like to think that we're not racist, but we aren't, like, where's that effect? It's like they all say the same thing as if they're all reading from the exact same script. Someone's generating that script, but that shit there. Who the fuck said that at any point that Scotland was immune from quote racism? Nobody said that at all. The reason that racism isn't talked about as much in Scotland, or wasn't before these people started their shit, is because it's a very, very, very white country. There's no reason to start talking about it. But that to them, the silence is silence. The silence to them is they take that as, they must think that racism doesn't exist in Scotland. That's why they don't talk about it. They're not talking about my fucking problems, etc., etc.
I know.
Then they go and they're retaliating.
Where there's no racism, these people will make it up. Remember them. You know Martin Zellner that used to be of Generation Identity, the Austrian. He said it perfectly one day. He said, the problem with these people is they see racism in everything, and the problem is it's in your optics, not your surroundings. That's what the problem is.
I remember that, actually, yeah. I did remember that, because I remember when I first heard that, I was like, that's fucking banging. I remember I was in my kitchen watching that. I remember that. Like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, I actually met Martin Zellner in Vienna about 5 years ago, and he was basically telling me that is the problem. But at the time, I was still making the transition to ethno-nationalist mentality, because I was still half and half Sivnat. I just thought, okay, that was probably just a bit over dramatized. But you know what? As time went on, I began to see it's a common theme with all these people. They perceive racism when there's nothing happening.
Yeah,
especially there was a Muslim girl. I'm not friends with her because I only met her very briefly. She told me she was waiting to go to the city, and she stood at the bus stop, and the driver drove past. And I said, "Why why? What happened?" Because he's a white racist. I went, hang on. I said, Sabina, first of all, did you put your hand out? No. I said, well, in the UK, you need to stick your hand out. Otherwise, they do drive past you. No, I think it's because I had a hijab. I said, no, it's happened to me many times. I've stood there expecting them to stop, and they haven't. They've drove past. Are you sure? I said, yes, maybe it's just perceived racism. I'm not saying that I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, see it from an alternative point of view. Maybe you're just perceiving it because it's what you want to see. And you know what she said? It's fine. Never mind. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. I thought, okay. I think that was her way of saying she knows I'm right.
Yeah, or at the very bare minimum, you can't prove you're wrong. You know? But that reminds me as well, there was a few years ago, I think it was the Metro, released like the 10 most ridiculous hate crimes of that year. It was a New Year piece, and one of them was 2 women had reported a bus driver for a racist stare. A racist stare. And another one was a guy who was walking his dog, and his dog took a shit in someone's garden. So the black guy had phoned the police and said like it was racist because the dog shot in his garden. Like, fucking what? It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
Back in my home country of Denmark, I was there holidaying one day, and yeah, they have quite a lot of Moroccans and North Africans. I was on a bus, and the guy tried to basically be fly and get on with an out-of-date ticket. And the driver was a woman, a white Danish woman, and he started to say, "I will not be spoken to like this." I mean, he was speaking a half Danish, half African language and part English. It wasn't even proper Danish. And eventually she shouted, "Look, if you don't get off the bus, I'm going to grab the radio and I will radio for the police. You are only doing that because I am black. You Danish cows are racist and you are all fucking scum." And at that point, 2 big guys at the back said, "Right, you, get the F off that bus. Who do you think you are talking to that woman?" And then she shouted, "Guys, could you, I'm not supposed to do this. I can't leave my seat, but I need him off the bus. Let us." And they grabbed him. "Don't you touch me. Don't you touch me. You're all racist. And I will have you reported." Well, they grabbed the guy. They put him on the ground. I think probably one of them was a security guard. They grabbed him, and then it was just the way he held him in a lock, and I've seen bouncers do that. So they threw him off onto the street, not forcibly that he will fall around, but he deliberately made himself fall to the ground, roll on the ground and bang his head. He said, "Oh, no, I'm injured. I am injured." And I thought, no, you're just at it, pal. You just want to play the race card because you don't want to admit that you've got the wrong ticket, and you're just too stupid to not buy an up-to-date ticket. And it's always about race with these people. Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen that, and I could not believe it. That was like the start of my, holy shit, these people are really shouldn't be here. These people are dangerous. It's just the way the temper just suddenly went from 0 to 10 in a matter of seconds. I mean, it was just like I think he was obviously looking for anything to get all angry and make out and pull the race card out. But the woman, I felt for the driver because she was quite a big woman, but she could not have handled that guy on her own. And the buses in Denmark don't have the security screen which you have in the UK. So he could easily have punched her or stabbed her or done anything. Yeah. So those guys, they had to intervene. It was getting problematic.
Yeah. I will say though as well though that these people are the way they are and operate the way that they operate and whatnot, but they wouldn't get away with half of the shit that they get away with in terms of their entitled attitude and whatnot. It wasn't for our societies in general. I mean, there's a lot of blame that needs to be placed on our culture and our politicians and whatnot. Pandering to these people, treating them like fucking babies when they're, poor little oppressed, victims.
Little manlets that never grew up and never heard the word no, and especially coming from a female because they think females are only good for one thing. Well, 2 things actually: making babies and staying at home.
Funnily enough, Ukrainian women are finding that out the hard way in fucking Germany currently. There's been, and in Sweden as well, rapes have started taking place at these centres already. Women in their women's shelters, the Ukrainian women, and the refugees, the quote-unquote refugees, aka the African men and whatnot, they've started the raping, pillaging. So, welcome to the diversity of the West, Ukrainians. You're gonna love it here.
And they will learn the hard way that there's a reason why we don't want certain characters in our countries.
Exactly, but they'll learn the hard way. As you say, chat quickly. 20 watching, fucking hell. I'm gonna have to get a drink.
I'm just keeping an eye on some of the comments, and but because my screen is small, there are some interesting comments here. And as Scotty says, they're like cultists. I agree, Scotty. I agree.
We need an wait. We need sorry. Oh fucking hell! I'm on the wrong thing to put the thing up on the screen there. Where is it? We need an emergency racist person to keep it down. Smash the glass tool to bring out. So if they say someone is a racist, well then they get something to put the blame on. We'll say buddy in time. Can't say any more opportunity.
Yeah. I'm just sick of the race card being played when there is no actual racism. And you know what? The ironic thing is, the more they do this to the people who have let them come into this country, the more people become less tolerant and actually do become racist. Not verbally sometimes, but their actions. And it's all their own faults because they have provoked people. They want to believe everyone's racist, so that's why people now oblige them, because these people have shit on everybody. Instead of saying thank you and thank you for giving me sanctuary. That's what really boils my blood, DJ. That they are always banging on about the country is racist. Well, at the end of the day, stop calling people racist. Stop treating people like scum, and then you might get treated with respect.
Yeah, but again, as I say, I'm not obviously getting them from any blame, but like in the case of Scotland, for example, they've got that attitude because you've got the entirety of Holyrood backing them, you know, like look at the wee anti-racism debate, the one where Hamza Yusuf with his white thing. Like there were so many other politicians that day that were standing there going, well, Scotland's racist, history's racist, etc. Like every single one of them just shitting on our culture and our past and our country and us as a people, you know, all to, you know, to snuggle up to babes. I was like, you fucking treacherous bastards. But when that attitude has been permeated across society, it stands to reason these babes are going to feel this sort of sense of self-entitlement and empowerment, you know? Oh, they're all on my side. I am a victim of racism. I am eternally oppressed. Yeah, you know, so fuck off. Like, no, you're not.
What it is, DJ, they know there are other kinds. They've seen their other lot getting away with it. So they know that no matter what they do, they will never be held accountable for their behavior. That's why they do it. They do things that none of us would ever get away with in any other country if we were in their situation claiming asylum. We would be told very quickly, look, you need to abide by the rules, otherwise you're out, or you can go.
I don't even think they'd let it fucking in, to be honest. But yeah, no, I get your point. No, but I don't think we'd be allowed in to begin with. Like, but right.
But about the racist thing, in Edinburgh, I recently took a photo. It's somebody, Lord Dundas or something. There's a board up ready. It's announcing that there's a placard going to be reconditioned to explain. Yeah, I posted that to No Chance to see it, but it really annoyed me because it's full of propaganda and it's the laughable thing was it says to this day Africans are still feeling the trauma of slavery, and I'm like, no, they're not. No African has been enslaved by the UK for the best part of 200 years plus. Yeah. So I don't know where they're getting that idea from.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is where the terms where it's always pays dividends to pay attention to the redefining of words, because they'll say that racial equality still exists in society today, the same racial equality that existed all those years ago, and then you'll turn around and you'll go, well, what do you mean? And they say, oh, well, there's not enough BAME CEOs. There's not enough black teachers in Glasgow. And that's because of the racism.
Oh, no, that's
but that's what they do. So they'll say slavery 400 years ago, that attitude still existed in society, and it showcases itself in the lack of teachers in Scotland that are black, or the lack of police chiefs, or the lack of CEOs, the lack of politicians. This is what they're doing now. They've redefined the words in order to justify trying to claim power for themselves. And that's why I will not stop making these videos until everybody adopts my talking points and everybody starts to see the way that I see it. You need to pay attention to the patterns and the redefining the words. You know, it's there's no point reiterating Sargon of Akkad talking points from 2016. We need to start looking at the fact that these pricks are standing on podiums redefining words. Sturgeon's doing it as well with feminism. You know, I made the videos on that. Feminism is the definition. If I get my fucking dictionary in the cupboard and I look at what feminism is, it's hatred of women. You have women, you hold women in contempt. Oh, that's not what it means now in 2022 in some Rainbow Unicorn land. No, it means men see women as subordinates, exploiting power imbalances, etc., etc. All this total waffle bullshit. You know what I mean? And then so how do we solve that? How do we stop the racism within society? Well, we need to equalize the power imbalances. So read between the lines. Again, disparities. Always about fucking disparities.
Always disparity. In fact, let me tell you quickly about something, DJ. There's an optician on Sucky Street, Specsavers. I remember 2 years ago, there was only one Muslim girl working there. And now, out of a staff of 7, it's 5 non-white people working there, and a rather soy boyish so-called manager. And I'm thinking, what the hell? That's clearly a box-ticking attitude went on in there.
Yeah,
well, I stopped going there as a patient because I was just getting sick of the whole diversity. I'm saying that, oh, they should all fuck off. I'm just saying, why is this happening? It seemed to have accelerated itself after the George Floyd incident. And it's just everybody getting on board on the diversity bandwagon. And even my parents agree it's sickening, it's disgusting, and they clearly only got the jobs because of what they are, not because of their qualifications.
Yeah. Sorry, chat. Well, actually, no, the chat might find it interesting. So it was something I uploaded to my channel donkeys ago, and it was Hamza Yusuf and Anas Sarwar, but it was an interview that they did a year prior to the George Floyd shit, and they were saying the exact same things that they then came out and said in the back of George Floyd, but nobody knew that they'd said it a year fucking prior, so the George Floyd thing happens and they're starting like, oh, we need this, we need that. They were saying the exact same fucking things a year prior, just opportunistic shite. The same way that guy that's responsible for the stats you're talking about being redefined, the placard and whatnot, that little prick, Jeff Palmer, the guy that's the black professor who's in charge of deciding which names in Edinburgh, right? He was saying the same shit 5-6 years ago. I found the channel on YouTube. There's interviews of him talking about wanting to change the streets names, potentially statues, etc. They all need to be looked at, right? Nobody took him seriously. George Floyd fucking dies, and all of a sudden Jeff Palmer's held up on a podium as the guru that's going to dictate which street signs are racist and what street signs are fine. These opportunistic bastards were saying it prior to that. But nonetheless, wait till you see. It's the only thing I want to play of this. What was it called? Fuck! It's the way it's the guy that presents this news show conducts himself at the very begining. He peddles this.
But just before you do that, DJ, I just want to draw your attention. Somebody in the chat, Just Force, he said it's spot on. We didn't enslave them; their own people did. Clearly referring to those today claiming that they're traumatized from the slave trade.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what annoys me. You need to put these things into context, because there was, even after our form of slavery ended, when we ended it and whatnot, it was still going on. And not only that, slavery wasn't frowned upon at the time when that was going on. You can't keep judging, the past by today's standards. But even if you are going to do that, you need to put it into context. Slavery was a known practice. Every fucking culture at some point has done it back then. It's totally different to how it is now. But no single culture is immune. Every culture has a history written in blood. Yeah. Right, listen to this prick at the start. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with these wankers and the way that they've got this narrative down to a T.
Sarwar with his fellow Glasgow MSP, the Justice Secretary Hamza Yusuf, to continue our coverage of the 20th anniversary of devolution. Both men told me the problem of Islamophobia has got worse, not better, in the years of Holyrood government. In the 2 decades since the creation of the new Scottish Parliament, more than 300 people have been elected to serve as MSPs, but with the exception of just 4 politicians, they've all been white. So why have there been so few Asian and no black MSPs?
Now, of course, you ask that question and you're meant to scratch your head and go, that's a shocking statistic. Oh, my God. Then let's just insert Hamza Yusuf and Anas Sarwar or whoever it is, of whatever game of the day they've got there to dictate to you. And they're going to go, oh, it's a disparity to racism, etc. No, it's fucking not. Look at the census in 2001 in Scotland, 98% white. Look at the census in 2011 in Scotland, 96% white. The Parliament in Scotland, the one they're talking about anyway, has existed since around the year 2001, 2002-ish time. So 2% of our fucking population was black or BAME in 2001. And then 4% BAME in 2011 stands to reason that that tiny fraction of the fucking population that was BAME, as an even smaller fraction, would have wanted to become politicians. So they sit there and go, oh, since the Parliament's inception, there's only been X amount of BAMEs, and they say it as if it's a shocking statistic. No, it's because there's fucking barely any of them here, or there was at the time. You know, but this is what I'm saying. They point to things and they go, oh, the disparity racist. That's fucking not.
Well, what they'll be saying, DJ, do you know what they'll be saying next? That Holyrood
talking about the fact that since the Parliament's inception, there's been barely any BAMEs. Well, look at the census. Look at the population percentage of your people. Barely any of you here. You know, maybe that's got something to do with it. No, it's easier to suggest to fucking partners.
DJ, wait for the day that they start saying it's all that Holyrood is a racist creation.
But no, wait, that's a different tab. I thought he was back on the stream. Anyway, but I see what I'm saying there. Like, so the questions posed is like, well, it's as if it's a shocking stat that there's been barely any BAMEs in our Parliament.
It's called redefining the word race.
Tell you how many BAMEs in the country during that period of time.
Ah, yes. It's to suit their own bloody narrative. That's what it is.
It fucking does my tits in it because there's just no pushback, So that's why I get so frustrated in some of the videos that I make. It's not like my videos are changing the world, but I feel like sometimes I get so fucking angry that I feel like I'm actually arguing with them. You know, it makes me sound like, all right, weirdo, but like, because there's no pushback. I'd love for there to be a bit of pushback. Just adopt. I'm not telling you to adopt my talking points. Just use common sense. Their narrative falls apart. But why is there no common sense being used? You know, the longer that the shit goes on where nobody ever pushes back on the crap that they come away with, the more that their narrative becomes cemented. You know?
Can I just say about the pushback? I believe there are more enough people pushing back, but the media will never cover it because you know why? It goes against their ideological grain. I believe there are lots of people.
And whatnot, you know, like never any pushback. Policies are being promoted. Policies are being created on the back of the fucking bullshit that's been espoused by these people. You know, like that can't be allowed to happen because these policies are predicated on falsehoods. Like that's just that to me is absurd.
It's dangerous.
I better push on a wee bit with this, and I'm not going to think while she plays. So if you want to pause it or whatever, and you don't
roll a cigarette.
Systematic and institutionalised racism. There are not enough senior roles and leadership positions in Scotland. And there is daily racial violence and harassment, and sadly that's still
I wasn't even out of the room yet, but there you go. See it? Disparity again. Fucking hot intellectual bombshell. When in doubt, bring up disparities. That'll work. Right, now go.
Police violence. And the pandemic has simply highlighted the structural inequalities that already existed. There is evidence showing higher death rates. There was less access to PPE. They were more likely to be in lower paid frontline roles, less likely to work from home, and there was more precarity and job insecurity across our BAME communities. So yes, trade unions need to do more, but we as a class need to do more too. We all have to unite and fight the inequalities that our economy has been built on. The racists want to fill us with hate and division, but we have to fill working people's hearts with hope, with unity, and with resolve to demand real change. Because as the ruling classes fear, when we the workers are united, we can never be defeated. I would like to express solidarity with all of the P&O workers. The RNT members and the Nautilus members have been treated disgracefully by P&O. And I would ask every one of you that support workers' rights to come and join us down at Cairnryan next Wednesday, the 23rd. There are buses leaving from Glasgow. Check out the RMT website if you want to know more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ross. It's amazing to see so many unions here. Last year, we had an event with the PCS union.
Sorry, I was checking on my dog as well.
I was just going to say, when she talked about buses going to Stranraer or Kinryan, I just uttered, I hope they all break down en route. And then,
I mean, I was going up, trying to find my dog, and he's away up the stairs there. But fucking, I could still hear this big boot coming. It was coming through the ceiling because my speaker's quite loud now. Like, oh god, no escape! I can escape this woman. But anyway,
this cancerous talk, as Chief Moody occasionally says, and he's right. These kind of dialogues that are cancer, they really are. And they make my blood boil whenever these people come with their bloody points.
Yeah, no,
totally.
That was the day.
All exaggerated shit. It's all exaggerated talking points.
That one there, though. I mean, I assume everybody in the chat's probably seen that. Graham Campbell standing at an S&P conference talking about, you know, the need to eradicate the notion of a racial identity for Scottish people. You know, we need to be non-racial, and everybody in the crowd got up with thunderous applause. I was sat there recording that in real time, like, it's fucking real. What the fuck am I watching here? Yeah. You know, but that's what they want. You know, and it's so far as things are progressing, if you will, it seems as if that's the way we're fucking headed. Yeah. You know,
and as Budgie Burger has just made an interesting comment there, and that is true. Many kebab shops are cash in hand. They don't pay taxes. That's actually very true, Budgie Burger. In the few kebab shops that I have visited, I've taken out my credit card and they say, no, only cash. I never actually thought of that. That makes a lot of sense now why they don't take card.
And I've heard as well from people on streams before that they sometimes get money to set up these businesses. But then whatever occurs, there's some sort of tomfoolery. But they then pass it on to like a brother or something, and then they'll claim redundancy or some shit, and then they get money to go and start up another business, and that's how they. I can't remember how it works, but essentially it can end up with they'll own several businesses next door to each other. It's a little common system.
Well, what I do know about the way these people of a certain faith operate, they don't go to normal banks and take a loan to do a business. It's among themselves, and they pay so much, basically a form of loan sharking. Like, I will lend you 50,000, and at the end of it, I would like 80,000. So basically, it's among themselves, and the only one making a profit is the Pakistani loan shark, if we want to be, or they go to. It's always amongst their own people or their own family. It's never the legal, normal way to the Bank of Scotland or the Bank of England, because then they would be bound by a contract and they would have to pay taxes.
I can't be you know, plus all the money they must be making fucking off the. I don't know how it works in terms of the unemployment benefits that all their 72 wives will be getting. You know, considering it's supposed to be illegal here for them to have more than one wife, but. Yeah. They're flashing the system somehow, because a hell of a lot of them, you see them all driving flash cars and whatnot. And I'm like, how the fuck is
Oh no, not bangers. They drive fancy cars, so they're clearly
W's, Audis and whatnot, you know. And I was struggling to get by with my old Ford Fiesta ST like that. I mean, that's fucking expensive for a young man. But they got Beamers and they're younger than me. Like, nah, I'm not right there. No, you don't tell me that's just fucking dealing a bit of drugs here and there. There's something fishy, you know.
Oh, they're clearly up. We now know a lot of them are up to criminality. They're up to no good. I had a Fiat Uno about 7 years ago, and it was a banger. I paid 700, and it lasted 1.5 years, and then I eventually scrapped it because it just failed the MOT. Yeah.
MOTs are bastards to pay anyway.
No.
But
I had
the lucky in that respect when I ran my car off the road last year, because of my MOT was due this year anyway. So, and it would have cost me a bomb.
It was inevitable. No, I've not got the pleasure of saying I've had a luxury car. I would like to have an old Alfa Romeo from the 60s, but I've never had the kind of money to be able to buy such. And I see some of these Ponzi buggers all driving their fancy car, and I do wonder, did you earn your money legally or through nefarious ways? I think the latter is one for them. They're fiddling.
Well, I mean, a lot of it as well, those second-hand cars and whatnot. I mean, Like, I think it gives off this false impression sometimes. And I'm not in the case of these Muslims. I've seen them, the TikTok videos and that, and they've got fucking like swanky Audis and whatnot. But when you see people like my age or your age, I don't know how old you are, but for my age anyway, you know, mid-20s, and people. All right, well, relatively similar ages, but let's just say younger than both of us, people in early 20s, and they've got Audis and whatnot. Like, gives off the impression that they're either earning off the bank of mum and dad and whatnot, or they're, you know, they're doing some dodgy dealings. But a lot of the time, it's just second-hand cars. You know.
Well, these are the cars that if they cost like 60 grand, you tend to look after them, because eventually when you sell it, you're still going to get quite a bit if somebody, especially if it's a rare, an exclusive model. And it's a lot of these middle upper class white people driving them around. I've seen a few around a place called Bears Den, parked in the driveway next to mummy and daddy's Audi or Mercedes. And clearly they're not short of money. And these are the very people that they love diversity because it's cheap labor for them.
Nah, fuck that, man. I'd take my old car back any day. That Ford Fiesta. See, I don't have it anymore, and I've got a different car. I hate my new car. I fucking hate it. You know, the tightening of the rules from the S&P to make it impossible to drive can't come soon enough. So I've got an excuse just to dump it. It's not even a bad car. It just doesn't compare. I miss my old car. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these weirdos that like makes love to their car at night. You know, like you get the guys on these weird TV shows kissing the car bonnet and shit. It wasn't like that. I'm just saying that car was just a fucking wee beast. I could roar up through the Highland countryside. The fucking sounds it used to make. You know, rode to myself, just speed demon till I hit the two. But nah, I can't do that with the car I've got now. It just upsets me. But guys, I have to say this. I hope everybody in the chat is prepared. I hope you're sitting down, all right? Because this is going to be a lesson for all of you here tonight. You're going to take one thing away from the street. It will be that you have earned some additional IQ points that you would have thought would have been impossible prior to watching tonight's stream. This woman here is by far the biggest big brain of all the anti-racist experts to take to the stage during this shit show. Very, very intelligent woman here. And she's going to showcase that intelligence to the crowd. And I pray and I hope that you manage to get some of that intelligence exuding through your computer screens or your phone screens. So be prepared, you know. It's going to be a lot to take in, I understand, but wow, you will have your mind fucking blown like I had mine blown. And I'm still trying to recuperate to this day. So, with that said, let us speak for ourselves.
Anytime I see people coming together to fight and stand against, I want you to look at your right-hand side and see what you see. You see the human being. When you turn to your left, you see a human being. There is nothing like racism. We only have one human race on the planet. It's a man-made world. I want to let's wake them up. It's ignorant behavior. It's lack of intelligence. It's lack of ideology that they have. They build their own mind to divide us. I can see people with a darker skin, with a pale skin.
Yeah, even if what she was saying was remotely true, in terms of like we're being divided on race and whatnot, even if you go, oh, well, here's my big brain hot take: race doesn't exist; it's a man-made term. Are we going to pretend that ethnicity also doesn't exist? I think so.
That's where it's ending.
You can still be divided on ethnical grounds. So what's the fucking difference, really? So I don't really see what the point of that was. Well, of course, the anti-race.
I will say one thing in her defense. I do like her accent, but not what she comes out with. She's got a pretty cool accent, you know, very typically African. No. Yeah, I just like these African accents, but not what she's coming out with. Anyway.
I don't mind hearing that accent because it shows to me that she wasn't at least born here. So one less I can claim that she's fucking Scottish. Yeah.
Beautiful state. We are all beautiful together. We are all one human being. Shame on those people who wake up in their own mind and they think they can divide us. They think they can make themselves feel better. No, we understand what they're trying to do to humanity. And we, the same human, we come and fight and chase them to their home. Oh,
so bold and brave and passionate from the powerhouse. Yeah, and it's just remarkable. My life has been changed after listening to that diatribe. But I always find it remarkable that the self-awareness from these very highly intelligent anti-racists seems to be non-existent, because well, they try to divide us. The only division I ever see permeating across society comes from the anti-racists. The more they talk about fucking race all day, every day, and racism, barriers.
Do you know what I see when I see these self-division? They divide themselves. They don't want anything to do with us.
Yeah, I mean, even there was the video that I made yesterday, whatever day it was at the weekend, where I went fucking mental and I had to cut a lot of it out because I lost my temper. I was reading a blog from some anti-racist BAME, and she concluded her blog by saying that they're now introducing her fucking anti-racism club into some lessons in schools and whatnot. But one of the paragraphs was talking about that they want to challenge the idea of colorblindness. So they're even going after, as if it's literal. When people say I'm colorblind, they don't literally mean they can't see color, for fuck's sake, but they probably think that's what they mean. It just means that they don't give a shit. They don't like that. They don't fucking like that. So they don't even like that now. It's like, what? So back in the day, they wanted everybody here to, be together. It didn't really matter what color of skin you have now, but that's now an issue, apparently. Like, you can't do that. You can't pretend that you don't see that Tyrone's black. You need to acknowledge Tyrone's blackness in order for me to be able to prove to you he's a victim of racism, you see. I fucking what? So, because if you don't acknowledge that Tyrone's black, then how can Tyrone be a victim of racism? You need to see his blackness. You fucking people, honest to God.
Oh, I know. The people are hilarious.
I'm upset that there's people in society that are quote unquote colorblind. I thought that's what you wanted. The fuck, like.
Sanity, really. But they are getting away with that because the powers that be, the political elites, are letting them. They're not stamping this crap out. They're just letting it out because it suits them. It's a voting bloc for the near future.
Oh, that I doubt. Oh, yeah, you're right. Somebody said that on the stream on Sunday. Nazi salute there.
Oh, yeah, I wonder. I remember that being mentioned.
To put on because I really want to play him because his speech is playing in my mind. But then I'll go back to the blatant Nazi on the screen here. I want to introduce everybody to Fireman Sam. Here is the token Scottish guy to give his 2 cents to today's proceedings. And if this is not a cuck, I don't know what the fuck is. And what he comes away with very quickly on is baffling, to say the least, if he genuinely believes the shit he's about to say. So here's Fireman Sam. Here he goes, reading from his wee phone too. I wonder who typed that up for him. His fucking granny or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Anyone who opposes their racist narrative.
Wait.
SBU members stand against the immoral and illegal invasion of Ukraine and the horrors this war continues to inflict. We stand in solidarity with the peoples of Ukraine, Yemen, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, and every other country and nation destroyed by war, by occupation, and political aggression. Conflicts and policies that create refugees to be vilified, distracting from the cause of their plight, to be abandoned by a political class more interested in sinking migrant boats than preventing the desperate situations that cause people to flee their homes. The Fire Brigades Union have a long and proud history of fighting racism and fascism. We continue to fight for justice alongside the Grenfell survivors, following repeated acts of state negligence, inextricably linked with race and poverty, that left 72 dead, 57 of whom were from Black, Asian, and other ethnic minority communities.
But the rest were white. So what's your point? But no, wait for it. He says something about the internet community. So, I mean, he's obviously not talking about us two powerhouses in general, but I kind of got the impression when I first listened to it that he was talking about the overall, as a collective online. You'll hear it.
I stand here in the face of all these ongoing with a mindset of hope. This global day of action comes less than a year after communities of this city came together in mass action to prevent the enforcement of racist immigration laws and the forced removal of their neighbours. Neighbours who chose to make Glasgow their home. A city that saw 100,000 march demand their voices are heard to tackle climate change, change that disproportionately affects the global south, largely caused by governments and corporations that value profit over life. A city that today sees thousands of us mobilised to demonstrate that racism and fascism will not divide us, that we are the majority and we are united. I stand here as a firefighter and I say, not another fire service, not another society, not another watch.
Actually, and it must have been there when I first skipped it, thinking I skipped it at the start, because he brings up, and there's an anonymous group online peddling far right and xenophobic talking points trying to divide us. Like, oh, what are we talking about? Like, I wonder who.
The reality, DJ, it's all in his head. And what's with the Marxist commie salute there? Is that a champagne socialist?
You can come a lot of them are in this thing, actually.
And I do wonder, does he actually believe the BS he's coming out with? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure it out.
I mean, if he's lying, it doesn't really matter at this point if you're lying or telling the truth, because he's done one thing as far as I'm concerned. He's proven to me that he's gay. So you're a big man. You're the buffy.
You know what else?
If you come away with it and you're supposed to be a straight white man, I'm sorry. Like, something went wrong in your procreation. If something went wrong somewhere down the line, it's just not normal behavior. It's not a normal attitude to have for a straight white. Any straight man, for that fucking matter, I wouldn't expect any normal man, masculine man, to behave and act and think that way. I would expect that of a buffy. So,
well, I will say another thing about that douchebag on the screen. It's very. I think he's just talking like that just to fit in. He's another bandwagoner who thinks, "Oh, if I do this, I'll get to bang Jemima over there." Jemima. He's probably trying to humour his girlfriend or his boyfriend in the crowd, and is saying, "You do that, I'll give you a very nice time tonight." You know, I just think prick is doing it to impress.
Just when you said Jemima there, that came in my head. This boot here, I don't know her name, I can't remember it, but I mean, see when I seen her for the first time on Saturday, because I watched this entire stream before. On Sunday, I watched it all just to see which ones to play on Scots Armour stream. See when I seen her here, I actually burst out crying as if like I was a 6-year-old boy or something watching a cartoon. I mean, her fucking hair, it's just shocking. Like, what the fuck's up to be? I mean, just not getting more stereotypically feministic if you try that. But
do you know what it reminds me of, DJ? Her hairstyle is like a medieval archer. Because in the medieval times, men had these short fringes and all bulk around the sides and back. It's just so gay looking.
Look at me, what the fuck?
Like a man with a wig. A wig.
Oh, fucking hell. Just absolutely abhorrent. I mean, I think it would be better if it is a wig, because I mean, I think she'd look better as a baldy. I mean, what is that made to be? I mean, is that supposed to be a deterrent so you get no male attention at all? Because it's fucking working, like. It's got to be. Oh.
As Ragnar Iron Spears has said, a bowl cut from the 70s. Well, it's like probably a wig from the 70s.
Punishment for war crimes from the 70s, more like. Jesus Christ. And the nose in it too, just very questionable. Very questionable.
A transgender man with a woman's terrible wig.
I don't know what it is. It's one of those it's like one of those characters you get in a game where you just there's just genderless, to just a sack of skin essentially. But then it opens its mouth, and I realised that irrespective of what gender this person actually is and what they think they are, they can fuck off. And I mean it. She can't fuck off, because she peddles probably the biggest liar of all of them. Just blatant lie, straight up fucking lie, and it's unchallenged. You'll hear it here.
Hello, everyone. All refugees are welcome here.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's so nice to hear a foreigner in my country, a visitor in my country, whatever you will, standing there and essentially telling the world that the country she's visiting, residing in, is open to everybody. It's my fucking country. Like, this annoys me. This is where the pushback should be coming in full force from everyday Scots. And I'm not saying that everyday Scot is watching this nonsense. I don't blame them, because I feel like I'm a torture victim when I have to watch this shit. But they should be pushing back. But instead of that, you'll get cucky Scots going, yeah, I agree, man. It's totally radical. Yeah, progression, dude. And you'll get the gay farming guy, in the background, who's blatantly not gay, he agrees. They all
DJ? DJ, most people, when they walk onto the stage, they say, hello, hi everyone, how are you all doing? The first thing that comes out of her mouth, refugees are welcomed here.
But bear in mind that one of the people that we played at the start of the stream said the exact same fucking thing. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I mean, you were elected to this country. How you got here, who knows? Right? What excuse you gave to get in, who knows? That doesn't give you grounds to then start saying everybody else is welcome to
border. She probably split border guard to get a green pass.
You speak of border guards, maybe they should go and apply or try to become trainee border guards. Then they can come away with that shit if they're going to do it. But as a normal person who's standing on stage or whatever you're doing in your life, whether they work at McDonald's or whatever it is, they're in no position to be saying that everybody's welcome in a country that they don't have any right to. Can
you imagine any Western person in Saudi Arabia in one of their squares grabbing a soapbox and a megaphone and shouting, Christians are welcomed in Saudi Arabia, everyone is welcomed? I can guarantee the police will drag you off that soapbox in less and quicker than you can blink, and you will be beaten up and you will be thrown in the police cell, and you will most likely be charged for inciting violence or disrupting public peace and quiet, the way they are. But you would not, my point is, you would not get away with preaching that. Then you would be deported once the bruises have gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rightly or wrongly, that might be seen as a bit harsh in terms of treatment, but the point remains the same, that they've got every right to do what they want, because you're essentially an infidel in their country when you're coming away with shit like that.
I'm not advocating. I don't like the Saudi regime. I don't like the Saudis, the royal family. Nothing against the ordinary people, because they are suffering just as much as infidels, as we call it that way. But let's take a lesser extreme example. You go to India and you start shouting, India should be British. The white man
no, better than that. They should be Pakistani, like the Pakistani things,
I think what would happen if the police arrest you, the Indians themselves, they will jump and kick 7 shades of shit out of you just for saying the white man should come back. And you're not. And they will also say, this is our country. How dare you? You are not welcome.
Exactly. And that's just what pisses me off, because this narrative it is the West is blatantly in its death throes when we're allowing this shit to occur. That's but it's like it infuriates me that, like, the few people that do want to speak out and do speak out, that's frowned upon. How dare you have an issue with what's been said just now? Everybody should have a fucking issue with what's been said just now. What the fuck? Essentially, country. One of the worst things that they ever did in Scotland, to this day, I think is probably the biggest point of contention I will always have with the SNP until they do something worse, and that was when they gave the ability to vote to refugees and foreign nationals. Now, that to me, is fucking treacherous, and there's so many different reasons for why that potentially puts Scotland in a place of jeopardy and potential exploitation in the future. Let's just say, for example, a group of people, a mass group of Muslims from another part of the world, or for example, decided that they wanted to try and infiltrate Scotland, come over as refugees. Well, hey, presto, you can all fucking vote. There's a voting block right there. You've also got the issue of any anti-immigration politician that I ever managed to sort of rise to some level of prominence in Scotland. You'll never, ever get voted in, because every single foreign national will blatantly vote against him, because he's wanting to quell immigration. Well, they don't want that. So it's a voting block, but the underlying root to it all is yet another example of them eradicating the differences between a native Scot and the rest of the world.
Exactly.
People like her to say that shit.
Oh, it boiled my blood, DJ. And I do ask where the hell is the pushback from Westminster? Surely Westminster should be saying to SNP, look, you've got devolution. You can run the country up to a point, but at the end of the day, we are the ones who can pull the plug anytime. But no, there's no fucking pushback.
Oh, they don't do it in Wales either. Wales is just as fucking bad. You know, devolution is the worst thing to ever happen to the United Kingdom, and that's coming from somebody that would see the back of the Union tomorrow. But
the worst part is, DJ, sorry, I'm interrupting you there. Sorry. The worst part is if enough of these people block tactfully in a block, it's going to overwhelm the native indigenous people, and their vote will count for nothing. And potentially then you will see Scots becoming the voting minority. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is a scenario which I do not want to see, because I can see what's coming next. Civil unrest, violence, and possibly another form of troubles. I don't
know if I'd go that far, because
I don't know.
There is a lot of Scots that I will say that, you know, the politically unaware, if you will, there'll probably come a point when their lives become a hell of a lot more affected by things that they might decide to themselves that probably, you know,
I think that would do it.
But as things are going right now, like, it just appears on face level anyway, the fact, like, the majority of Scots are okay with what's going on just now. You know, it's like, I don't know why that's the way it appears, but that is how it appears. I mean, that to me is, as I said, that is the most treacherous thing they've ever fucking done. Not only they did, but they didn't even ask us about it. They just did it, you know? And they even went so, like, the Green Party, they wanted some amendment. It never got acted upon, but they're still advocating for it now. The refugees and whatnot, campaigners, they're still wanting the amendment that was proposed. They still want it. And the amendment is that asylum seekers, irrespective of whether or not they've had their claim accepted, while they're waiting to have the claim accepted or whatnot, they should be able to vote too. Are you fucking, what the fuck? Like, so anybody from anywhere in the world can just rock up here and vote in our elections. That's what and stand in our elections too, may I add. Stand in the fucking elections too, you know? So, and then when shit hits the fan, they can just fuck off back to where they came from. That to me, no.
Is that Green Party the Greens you're talking about?
The Greens, they wanted that amendment put in there, but it got voted down.
They're just trying to stay relevant. They can't get over the fact that they got their arses kicked in the last election with that buck to boot with, we're going to stop Brexit. You know the one, I forget her name.
Lorna Slater.
No. She's not even Scottish, but she's from somewhere else, and she was wanting very prominent Scottish party. She was very prominent wanting to stop Brexit, and she thought she could get away with it, saying it with a straight face. But I forget her name. Jo Swinson or Swindon.
I mind her.
Swindler. That's what she is, a swindler. And a charlatan. Well, I'm glad she got her arse kicked on polling night.
Well, I'm a bit upset by who beat her right enough. It was the SNP, remember?
You know,
well, writing about the UK and her stop Brexit bus. I mean, what the fuck? Like, it used to irritate me, all that shit. You know, democracy, they cried while they were trying to stop Brexit for the whole of the UK. You know, let the UK leave the EU, act upon your mandate, and have your fucking referendum and shut your mouth. But nah, can't have that. We need to stop England leaving the EU, despite the fact they voted to leave it. So,
that was the ironic fact about this. In the UK, all the other nations have devolution. England doesn't have its own parliament, and I've agreed with English people. Why doesn't England get afforded a referendum and have their own parliament? I just cannot.
In the grounds of fairness, but I would still say that devolution and having our own parliaments and whatnot is the biggest mistake that the UK has
I agree. We all see the harm it's done, especially when you've got incompetent idiots like Nicola Sturgeon.
I wouldn't say she's incompetent. Like, it's done by design. I'm off the belief now that the whole point of devolution was just so the countries could be destroyed one by one at different England had to fall first because it's got the largest population. So, you know, we'll brown England up first before we start on Scotland and Wales. They started on Scotland before they started on Wales because there's obviously more people here. And now they're going after Wales, and last but not least will be Northern Ireland. So I hate to break it to you, I mean, it will happen one day, but like hopefully by that point, though, Scots and Englishmen and Welshmen have decided enough is enough properly.
We'll wake up. Well, I think. Well, you know what I think will initially wake them up, DJ. Just what I said a minute ago about the voters becoming the first time a voting minority, and then getting all these things implemented on them against basically detrimental, and then they will realize, oh shit, we are now the minority and these people are dangerous. I think that will wake people up. If I'm trying to work it the right way, they will realise suddenly, pubs will only be allowed, just a hypothetical, pubs will only be allowed to serve till 8 o'clock, and nightclubs will only be opened 1 or 2 nights a week. You know what I mean? Stupid things starting off small, and that a lot of people like to go out and drink and party. That could be stupid things that they come out with, and then it's eventually people will snap and will take to the street. Hopefully that happens peacefully, not violently. That's just one hypothetical scenario.
Yeah. Wow. I've had these conversations offline with people that believe that in time it will end up leading to the opposite of what you said there in terms of like a bad situation. And I can't argue the point against it, really. I'm not meaning I'm in favour of it. I'm saying I can definitely see outcomes in the future where that might end up happening. I mean, I don't see a peaceful way out of this ship. Let's put it that way. Something has to be.
Unfortunately, it will not be peaceful. There will be people who have had enough, and they will not have the calmness to reason. They will be emotionally charged, and they will be violent. Yeah. Right. And I'm going to be honest, if the police start putting people down, they will call them rioters. They will put them down with violent results, and that could just make things worse.
Well, they've already laid the groundwork to fucking knuckle down on all of us anyway. Just your normal dissidents, people that are against what's going on. You know, if you're against progressivism, you're aggressive, you're far right, you're the problem. We can't go back to the ways of old. I've heard all this type from these people in Parliament for years saying stuff like that. They always make reference to certain sectors of society that want to see us go backwards, etc. So the narrative is, if you don't agree with what they're doing, you're an issue, because we need to move forward to a better progressive future, etc. So they've already got the fucking eye on us to some capacity. And of course, Alyn Smith, the beautiful man that I shielded at the start of the stream, you know, remember that little exchange he had by a woman a couple of years ago? She filmed it. He didn't know he was being filmed, I think, if I remember rightly, but he acknowledged, he let slip that the SNP have a database. And, you know, they're keeping tabs with people online. So, yeah. But I better play a bit more of this because we've
ranted long enough.
I am so happy to be here today representing UCU Scotland, my union. And I am so excited to see so many people here today. Now, UCU, the University College Union in Scotland, we represent 9,000 university workers, lecturers, tutors, librarians, administrators. And we stand here in solidarity with all the anti-racists and with all refugees, and we welcome you here. So, we know racism remains prevalent in workplaces.
Oh, this bit's good, right? I'm going to let it play, but she says a few things here, but then she comes away with an absolute fucking doozy of a lie. And I really don't know how she's getting away with it. But you'll hear it here. She says, "Oh, we know racism exists in insert here. So we know racism exists here. How do we know? Well, we don't know, but it's, you know, it fucking annoys me. Because if you were to press her, you'd know damn well what she would say. Disparities, of course. That's not a fucking good one, you dick. But anyway.
We know that racism remains prevalent in education institutions. We know it remains prevalent in our governments. My union just now, UCU, is taking strike action across 11 different Scottish universities for 5 days, from 5 days on from next week. One of the issues we are taking strike action over is racism in higher education. There is currently a 17% pay gap for Black workers. That is not acceptable. You are literally being paid less and employed on horrible contracts because of the color of your skin.
Well, that's just a fucking lie. I can't believe she's getting away with saying that.
I don't believe that. Where's our evidence? She's just...
No, exactly. But do you know what she said at the start there? She said, what was that? How did she word that? Again, it was something to do with a pay gap. It was a pay gap. So it's alluded to the gender pay gap, ethnicity pay gap, right? But so she doesn't really elaborate from what I recall. She has enough detail in order to really dissect it. But let's just say, from what you hear, that any institute, any university, for example, in Scotland, let's just say that there's 200 people that work there from agencies that are white, and then there's like 5 or 6 that are BAME from agencies. So they'll take all the wages, of all the whites in the agency, they'll add it all up. They'll take all the wages of the BAMEs, they'll add it all up, then they'll subtract it, and then there's your fucking disparity, there's your difference. And that's how they did it with the gender pay gap, which got debunked years ago, but they still ran with it for the longest time. Then now they've copy and pasted that exact same script for a ethnicity pay gap. But for her to then, I mean, it's easily debunkable. It's total nonsense. But then
Totally debunkable.
after the fact, just totally disregarding the fact that the piss she's saying can be debunked easily, she then says, "You're literally being paid less for being black." No, you're fucking not. Like, I can guarantee you that any agency worker, I mean, I work on agency workers. I am fucking hell, I can't even talk. I am an agency worker most of the time on building sites, and pay is shit. That's the way it rolls. But every boy that gets hired by the agency, they're all paid the same. They don't go, "Oh, we'll pay you a bit more. We'll pay you a bit." No, you're all paid the same. You know, so it's just nonsense.
You know what? If that was the case, I think surely somebody would have highlighted it a long time ago.
Exactly, yeah. And if it was going to happen anywhere in society, it sure as fuck wouldn't be a university setting. But the epicenter of leftism. Come on.
You know, two things I see from that crazy woman. She's basically jumping through extreme mental gymnastics, and in about a decade or so, she will still be parroting the same shitty line. Exactly, provable, false, and provable.
And then when they all protest demanding action is taken to eradicate the problem she claims exists, when there's nothing done to eradicate these issues because they don't exist, she'll then use that as further proof to say, "See, society's racist. They're not doing anything about this blatant racism." Well, that's because there's nothing to quell. It's fucking delusion.
There's already laws against that kind of
everything you've heard tonight from all these speeches, that is just the most bald-faced lie that I've heard. It's fucking pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic and absurd to me that she's getting away with that. And everybody in the crowd, they must all agree with that shit. Yeah, you know, whether it's the first time they've ever heard it before. I didn't exactly hear anybody go, "Oh my god!"
They're all gullible, brain dead, fuck knuckles.
Off, man. Paid less for being black. Fucking nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense.
The only people who get paid more than your workers are people in managerial positions.
Exactly, that's how I don't know if you know anything about the gender pay gap. This was years ago. It was like Jordan Peterson was one of the first people that I'm aware of to start debunking it. But all the feminists were running with it. They would point to an institution and they would say, "Oh, there's a gender pay gap. Oh, women are paid less than men for doing the same job." And that's not how that's not true. What we were doing was they were adding up all the pay packets of every man that worked in that building, but they weren't taking into consideration the job roles. So you were essentially comparing a till worker to the CEO and going, "Oh, look at the difference in pay." It's not like, you see what I'm saying? But then they did the same thing. They came out a few years ago and said that they wanted to do the same thing with an ethnicity pay gap. There's blatant. We need to have data published because there's definitely an ethnicity pay gap. So it's the same metric they want to apply there. There's naturally, because there's less blacks in the country, going to be less blacks statistically in an organization. So you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to add up all the whites' pay packets. You're going to add up all the blacks. You're going to do a bit of subtraction, and you're going to go, "Oh, there's a blatant difference there," not taking into consideration the fucking fact that everybody has different job roles. But when you look at people who are black and white who are doing the same fucking job, they're getting paid the same.
Exactly. Can I just say, my previous job, I mean, I don't care because I'm not, and no one can dox me anymore because I'm not there. I used to work for a company called Cura. Now, they're behind Buchanan Bus Station. Now, my boss, well, my manager, I know that he got paid £800 a week, but at the end of the day, he earned it because he was in a position of responsibility and he had to do stuff and be there longer. So he got paid £800 a week. I by chance noticed paperwork and I noticed what all the people got paid according to their qualifications. So he, if people think, "Oh, he would not get that if he was black," that's utter bollocks. That's a lot of bullshit. Most of us, if we're lucky, would get about 180, 200 a week. But he got nearly 1,000 a week because he is in a position that commands higher wages. And the one above him, the company director, I'm sure he probably got a couple of thousand a week. because Cura is a multinational company and it did a lot of business anyway, so it was making plenty money per hour, so they can afford to pay these wages.
And the further up you go in the career ladder in terms of an organisation, actually pay is going to be a bit different, and you do see sometimes a bit of a disparity between CEOs and managers and whatnot. But when it comes to your everyday worker, like 2 cashiers in Tesco's, they're not being paid different wages because one of them's got a cook and one of them doesn't. Like, that's not how it works. But that's how we want you to think it works, because again, it comes back to how do we eradicate the gender pay gap? Well, in order to reduce the differences in pay that we've managed to accumulate via our manipulative statistics, in addition, adding and subtracting, we're going to have to hire more women. We're going to have to promote more women in order to quell the difference. So it's again, it always boils down to them trying to grab power up. But that's what they're after. It's always
it's a shoehorning process.
That's always the same, man. But it just pisses me off that in order to get to that point where they can try and their little tactics, they have to make the false narrative. There's total bullshit narrative. They run with it, no pushback, and all of a sudden it becomes gospel truth, despite the fact that if you've got fucking any amount of brain cells, you can see right through it for what it is, Or at least that should be the case for most people, but quite clearly not, Fucking clearly not.
Thing with my former company, DJ, they also jumped on the diversity bandwagon not long after 2020 Minneapolis incident, and me and 10 other people, all white, I might add, lost our job because they needed to be seen going in the diverse, less prejudiced, less racist avenue. And I thought,
in and of itself is racist.
Yeah, well, I've been 3 years with him, and even my boss, he took me into the office and he said, look, I nearly slipped my name out there. He said, look, I don't like the way, I disagree with how it's happened. I understand, but I can't do it. It's over my head. But he said, personally, I think it's disgusting what the company is doing, because he said, we have to train these new people, and again, you guys did a better job and you were quick learners, and I'm genuinely sorry to see you go. But he said, unfortunately, my hands are tied.
Aye, and to be fair, it's pressure from above. I mean, they're all at it now. And again, when it comes to the ethnicity pay gap shit, they're wanting data to be published by every company in the country across the UK, right? So every year you have to publish data, and if there's not a difference, an improvement in eradicating the so-called disparities that exist, the pay gaps, then you can get fucking fined. So essentially what they're doing is they're forcing companies to start prioritizing minority and marginalized groups in order
Do you know why they're doing it? Because they don't want the hassle of being called a racist and all the grief that comes with it. It's insidious practices, and they know just to keep the peace. But in my opinion, DJ, the fact that they're just rolling over and letting it happen, that just shows cowardism. There's no fucking pushback. And I'm sorry, but I get really angry when I see my own people turning their back on those who have worked hard for years, made the company what it is, and got good rates. And then to turn around and say, oh, we need to get in 50% non-white, BAME workplace. But to me, it's just cowardism. And
But I think you could, I'll give you that. It definitely is. But there's also the fact that it's the way that they go about, presenting what they're trying to do. It's always the namby-pamby words. It's like they don't just come out right and say, like, look, we need to shaft some whites to look good to the higher ups. No. It's like, oh, we need to eradicate the racism and the systemic barriers and whatnot. There's a constructed narrative in play here to try and justify the bullshit. It's just a question of whether or not you've got the ability to see through it for what it is. But like, just stop spinning me a yarn. What you're essentially advocating for is you're going to start shafting whites. You're going to start discriminating against white men. But no, we're not doing that. We're trying to eradicate the systemic oppression that's existed since slavery times. Fuck off.
The reason I think all these managerial people, they let it go is because it's not affecting them. They're still going to earn their 800, 1,000 a week, but it will be a while before they.
This is a wee example from I can't remember when it was, 2020, December the 11th, 2020. Just listen to what this fucking thin-lit boot says here. I'll let it play, 50 seconds long. As you can see from how I titled it, just listen to this shit.
Okay.
We'll also invest £15 million to help more employers take on an apprentice. Businesses want to give young people opportunities. But for many, the impact of the pandemic will make the costs too hard to meet. So we'll pay employers £5,000 for every new modern apprentice they take on between the ages of 16 and 24.
Well, there you go.
Who are care leavers,
No, wait.
or from
Sorry.
minority ethnic communities. The £5,000 grant will be available up to the age of 29.
How fucking unfair is that? Like, you know, so I mean, most companies do not take on adult apprentices. It's just a bit of a con job, right? But apprenticeship schemes, incentivizations financially, all the way up to 24. But if you're black or brown, it's all the way up to 29. How the fuck is that fair?
That's very. Shouldn't it be equal across the board, black or white?
Yeah. There should be financial incentive for companies to take on apprenticeships, full stop. Not, 24 if you're a white guy, but 29 if you're black. That is not fucking fair at all, because, like, I mean, I'm of the opinion anyway, the way society's going, apprenticeships are probably one of the only things that really does secure, you know, a future for yourself at this fucking point, really. The way the world's going.
Job at the end of it, that's the risk some are willing to take, especially
I was an apprentice.
Bandwagoneering.
Didn't go very well, but that's a here nor there story. But like, but that is the way that most people, I would advocate for. Instead of going to unis and whatnot, try and get an apprenticeship. Like, but that just fucking pisses me right off that blacks are getting prioritized. Until they're 29 years of age. That is just fucking not on. Like, but again, why are they doing that? Because of disparities, and you know, we need to quell the inequalities that exist. So it's like, just fucking what?
I know, it's insidious, very insidious.
But it's the wishy-washy rhetoric. They're taking these words like inequality, etc. You know, and it's like it's redefining them to suit their narrative, and that's what really pisses me off fundamentally, because like when you look at how they've actually they define these words, it's not how the definition in the dictionary would have you believe they are. So the words you're being taught at school is not the words that you're hearing from these people. Yeah,
I know.
That was just a wee example of how they see what's in the chat. And people in the chat still, 19 people.
It all boils down to one thing, DJ. Money talks. Everyone has their price.
It's just
That's why That's why they don't make much fuss about it when people are laid off just because the company wants to go woke. It's because they're well paid and they're cushy number. They're not suffering.
Oh yeah, I wish they would put some more attention into the fact that the construction industry, for example, which all these 29-year-old banes will fucking benefit from with their apprenticeships. Construction industry is completely rife with agency work now, which is just a fucking scandal in and of itself, because they take on agency boys and then dump them the minute the work gets quiet. That's not fucking on. Why don't they prioritise things like that that could actually help native Scots or just people in general? And they won't do anything that actually helps.
I won't do it. Yeah, I mean, I used to work in a restaurant. When I was a student, I worked in a restaurant, and then in the summer, kind of at one point, they weren't doing so well, and they just laid us all off. But you know what? I didn't like the place anyway. But that's an example of just getting rid of people when business is quiet, as you described there with the business or the agency.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit. I mean, I remember reading years ago that the UK government were going to be looking into it. Did they? No. But yeah. Oh, Ragnar, I meant to ask you, by the way. Did you hear? I seen it today. Hugo Talks. The Republic of Ireland have now decided. They've announced that they're going to, instead of 100,000 refugees, they're taking in 200,000 now. When you put that up against the actual population of the Republic of Ireland, that's fucking insanity. Yeah? 200,000, and will it be 300,000 next week? Who knows? But 200,000 people. That's like 4 or 5% of the population.
And give it 5 years, and you have 1 million. That's if they don't start procreating before that. 1 million non-Irish.
They've already got Ragnar got. I'll put it in fact. I'll get Ragnar's channel up now. Post your link in the chat, Ragnar, and I'll show you. I'll play the video that I commented on earlier on the day, because the woman they're just talking so nonchalantly about like the statistics from the census that the Republic of Ireland had in 2016, and it was fucking shocking. Like how many people that aren't Irish in that part of the country. Right now, you're going to add. This was in 2016. Like this, they were referring to 2016 statistics. You know. Fucking hell, it's a hell of a lot more than that now, eh?
You know what I have noticed a lot of in Dublin, and the few times I've been over there, it's an awful lot of Chinese people. They were not there 20 years ago. There was very few. It was travelling people, the tinker types, but now it's Chinese everywhere. And one Chinese girl, she was going around with her really annoying put on accent. She said, "I'm Irish," and I was standing on the Halfpenny Bridge, and she passed. I said, "The hell you are! You're not Irish." And she went, "Excuse me, what?" I said, "You're not ethnically Irish. You have a piece of paper. That doesn't make you Irish." She went, "Oh, fuck you, you idiot." And I went, "Oh, that's all you can think to say. Probably because you know I'm right." And she walked off and put the finger, "Fuck you, fuck you." I said, "No, thank you. You're not my type." And then there was a Garda, he was coming and said, "Excuse me, what's the problem?" I said, "Nothing, she's just being abusive." Because he didn't hear what I was saying. He said, "All right, I'll go and have a word with her." I said, "No, that's all right." But I quickly skedaddled on the other side of the Liffey, just in case he came back to say, "Why did you say that? Why did you do that?" You know.
Yeah.
But that just annoyed me. Flaunting, it's like the new Irish. She clearly came as a young child and now thinks she's as Irish as Pat O'Malley or anybody else. But to me, she's not Irish. She's just, I'm going to say it, she's just basically an anchor baby or an immigrant's child. That's all it is.
Oh,
I don't want to get your channel nuked for that, but
I'm surprised it's all on YouTube, to be honest. Wait, post it in the Scrubs chat or something, and I'll post it. I'll play it like, because every time I click on that link that you sent or you posted, it keeps fucking about. But I've had enough. There's somebody that says something towards the end of their speech that it made me rage in my room, but I don't know if it was her or not. So I'll keep it on the screen for now. But get rid of that. 17 watching now. Computing. Wait. See, I need to share my screen again as well. Fuck's sake.
While you're doing that, DJ, I just wanted to add that I wouldn't bother people going on. I'm normally keep my mouth closed, but I was in a very bad mood. My reason being in Ireland was annoying enough. But that just annoyed me. Somebody putting on an accent, making it sound more outrageous and more than it was actually, forcing it on a bit like Hamza with his fake Glasgow accent. But I just had enough and I had to say something. I said, "No, sorry, you're not Irish. You only have a piece of paper. It takes more than that to make somebody a nationality." Yeah, that was it. My reason for being there was I was trying to get back with my ex-girlfriend who moved back to Dublin, but she basically told me to fuck off. So I was angry and I had 5 hours before going back to the airport in an angry mood. So she just set me off, that other girl.
Women for you, fucking women. Yeah, oh well, I was gonna say something there.
Irish girlfriend, yeah, she was native Irish. She had red hair, blue eyes, freckled and pasty white skin. It's what I see as Indigenous Irish of that type. Not a name.
We don't have it any other way, yeah. I'll give you that about Irish women. See when you hear them like on the phone or like if they're through an avatar without seeing their face, for their access, Jesus Christ, fucking hell.
I had a typical Irish name. Name was Emer.
Emer,
yeah, it's the Irish Gaelic. Emer McKennick. I can't remember the name. The surname was written in the Gaelic, but I just know her first name was Emer, which again couldn't be any more Irish than that.
No, I've never heard that name before. It's fucking weird, dude.
I expect to see if I go to Ireland. Irish people and Irish names and Irish accent.
Yeah, you don't expect to see fucking Mihimbi and
and bloody Jackadon.
What the fuck? I'm getting pure confused with his top. Right, that's my stream playing, right? That's sound, right? I need to get Steve's fucking comment off the screen. I keep doing that. I'm leaving comments up for like an hour and a half and whatnot. Yeah, it'll take me a while to get proper used to the stream. See, the last one I did for an hour solid, I was streaming. And I was going through articles and stuff, and not one person in the chat told me that I wasn't even sharing my screen. So all they were doing was staring at my Saltire flag for fucking an hour. All right, dick. You fucking tell me.
No. It was a good stream, man. I enjoyed it. I was lying on my back having a rest, and I was listening and chuckling along, but I wasn't never thought to check the screen. But I was enjoying your listening, so don't think that you're doing crap, because you're actually very entertaining to a lot of us. Because I come for most of the later band here as well.
looking at, you know what I mean? I did it with Scots Armour stream, right? See, the first stream we did at New Year, after New Year, right? We're going to do a sustainable development stream, right? You're going to tell everybody what you know about Agenda 2030. Like, right, no bother. Not sound by me. We got William on. It was all set up and planned, right? And a large I watched a bit of it back just to see how it looked and whatnot. A large portion of it, I'm going through documents on the Scottish Government's website, like, and there's it there in a programme for government referencing sustainable development. I was doing this for about 45 fucking minutes, and they couldn't see the screen. Like, so everybody in the chat was listening to me going, and see it, it's written right there, and it's incorporated there, and if we click on this tab, it's there too. Nobody could see what I was talking about. Like nobody thought to tell me. Yeah, that might be that, but I don't know. That's sick, but Ireland 2040. Oh yeah, wait, I'm not playing the whole Hugo's video.
The
Ireland 2040 agenda. Yeah, that's been in the pipeline for some time. Like, 1 million people by 2040.
No, I genuinely feel for the native Irish, because if that hits them, it's going to hit them hard. I feel bad for them.
Like, I mean, all those years fighting to leave the United Kingdom in order for them to end up in that situation. Like, what the fuck? But but then you get the likes of Nicola Sturgeon, who will say, "Oh, we could be independent in the EU. Look at the Republic of Ireland. Look at them. Yeah, look at them. I'm quite all right, thanks. As it goes, I don't want to be like them. You know."
You know what? I this is going to sound really ignorant, but I never realised that. I mean, after the 1920s, when Ireland became the 26 free states, they didn't officially become a republic until the late 30s. So they had something like 35 years, maybe or less, before they joined the EU. So they've basically just handed their hard-fought independence just to the unelected bureaucrats in Brussels. So I just think that's not independence. They should have just stayed an independent nation. They fought for it.
Advocate for trade by all means. Like that would be what I would do if I was in charge of Scotland. Get independence from the UK in an ideal world where we weren't all pretending climate change existed, etc. And we weren't going to have black guys rocking up on our shoreline every day on boats. But in an ideal world where that shit wasn't happening, I wouldn't be joining the EU. But damn right, I'd be for a trade deal with them. But there'd be no strings attached. It'd be a clear-cut trade deal. That's as far as it goes.
The thing is, DJ, nobody was ever asked. It was only the political elite who wanted to join the EU.
And even if they did have a referendum, it'd be fucking rigged.
The thing with the Irish, I mean, they fought for their independence to be a nation once again, and yet now look at the state of Ireland. I mean, Dublin, it's Ireland's capital, but you know what? It could be anywhere. It doesn't feel very Irish, apart from the Irish accents and the bilingual street signs. That's all. That is all that tells you that you're in Ireland. But everything else, it could be anywhere.
Right. Sorry, right. This is on Ragnar's channel, right? So I'll play this and just bear that in mind that they're referring to 2016 statistics and take that into consideration with the other thing that Ragnar sent, which is the fact that they've now announced, there's it there on the screen, 200,000 Ukrainian refugees. And as we know, some of these refugees, quote unquote, from Ukraine will turn out to be from Kenya and Nigeria, etc. But nonetheless, so
the various nationalities coming through here from Moldova, as I said, from Lithuania, it's fantastic that they all feel part of our National Day now as well.
Yes, and we would be working with a lot of the groups over the years, but they would normally not be in their national dress, but they'd all come together as one of our pageant performers, and you'll see on the different pageants. So it's really nice to be able to invite them with their national costumes today.
And I'm sure it must feel very inclusive for them to be part of our day.
And it's a message to the community groups that they are very much part of our nation, very much part of society, and that this is what Ireland is now. It's a multicultural, diverse country, and we have to be really proud of that. And it's all the sense that the culture that they bring to us is as important as what we share with them.
Of course, we saw there as well the Confederation of the Indian community in Ireland as well, who have taken part in the parade before.
Like Mardi Gras.
It's probably an area that's growing, Karen, is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there is 200 different community nations in Ireland at the moment. The last census in 2016 said there was over 500,000 non-Irish.
So there you get the point. So 200 plus different nationalities and 500,000 plus people. you know, that are not Irish. So that in and of itself fucking shocking when you look at the population of Ireland. But that was in 2016. A lot's changed since then. A lot more people have come, and now they're talking about an additional 200,000. What the hell, man?
The thing is, DJ, I don't think it's, as you say, it's usually not white people migrating in mass to all these countries. I would rather see these, what were they, Moldovians? I would rather see these events because that was quite an interesting display. I would rather see national heritages like that because we have a commonality. We're all European, rather as opposed to cultures which don't like us and they do not join us or take part in anything to do with us. So I'm maybe like a Sivnat, but I would much rather have that in controlled numbers in my country than all the other rabble.
Well, if it was a choice, it's a no-brainer. But as far as I'm concerned, as I said on Scots Armour stream, I just to be consistent, it's a big fat no for white or black. I don't want any of them here, and that goes for fucking Polish. Any of them, I don't want them here. And the reason I don't want them here is because I know the reason that they want them here, and it's got fuck all to do with these manufactured crises. All the wars in the Middle East where we've got a hand in creating in the first place, as in the wee hats, as everybody knows. This Russia shit. That's been manufactured to high heaven in order to justify moving off fossil fuels. So there's that. But then you look at the bigger picture, and that is the fact that it's about replacement migration. So I don't want fucking Cairo and the doctor coming over here, the same way that I don't want Bambi Flimby, the useless prick, coming over here. I don't care if you're going to contribute. I don't care if you're the stranger. Don't care if you're white. Don't care if you're black. You can fuck off. You're not coming over here to replace me. You're not over here to fucking to become Scottish and replace me when I'm dead and gone. You can fuck right off. That's not happening. I will never
really annoys me
ever counter that. Counter to that fucking point.
What really annoys me about all this is, for a long time, I'm talking about Ireland, I have always had the belief that Ireland should be for the Ireland, Irish jobs for the Irish people. That's it. No other alternative. It should just be that. It's non-negotiable. And also Ireland, if it has any sense, will get the hell out of the EU and reinstate the punt. That would be ideal. That would be better.
The EU needs to fucking crash and burn.
It needs to just fuck off.
The next institution that needs to go quickly and swiftly after that is the United Nations. Maybe then we'll start to see the world go back to the way that it should be. But until such a time, we're in fucking trouble. It's just this replacement migration shit. I'm sick of it. I'm sick heated. We just want the migrants to come over here to contribute. Fuck your contributions. I don't care. Because even if they come over here, then they are highly intelligent, etc. The homeless white guy, the homeless ethnic Scot, has more of a claim to this land, irrespective of whether or not he makes a contribution, to any black guy that wishes to come over here and contribute. I don't care. Because the reason
I agree
is to replace me, because my people aren't having enough children. So they want people over here to have children on my behalf. Fuck off. Go and have dogs where you come from.
I'm 100% behind you on that. I agree with you. And as Ragnar has pointed out something that, that is true. He says, Exiled Viking, they may look like us, but they aren't our people. But I get your point. Yeah, that's how I should have. That's what I was thinking all along, Ragnar, when I was saying my line there. But yeah, I just couldn't find the words to get it expressed.
We're similar in nature, in terms of opinions.
Let's
not forget
their culture.
History of time, Europeans have all hated each other for the most part, by and large, So,
one thing, they might all have a similarity, but if push comes to shove, these Moldovians, they will form their own communities and help each other before they help the Irish or the Scots if they find themselves in a shit situation.
Well, they've already. Well, I would like the fact of the matter is that they're all dressed up in their old traditional attire. The whole point of moving to another country, to become Irish and whatnot, you should be dressed up in Irish gear. Why are you dressed up in your own fucking stuff? Again, it's just you're creating this concept of more than one culture instead of assimilation. So again, I don't agree with that either. If you move to a country en masse as a people, and then that nation then has to be browbeaten to no end about diversity, and they're just as Irish as you or whatever nation we're in terms of the context. They need to be integrated. We shouldn't be celebrating our difference. They should be integrated. It's as simple as that. But that's not what happens.
And they should also be promoting the birth rate. I mean, like in Scotland, I don't think Ireland also has any incentives for native Irish to procreate or encourage the growth of the family. And Ragnar has also pointed out here again, the birth rate in Ireland was 10 to 15 kids per household. Now they are 1.1 child per family. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Irish, a bit older than me, they were from families of 7 or 8 kids. Also, they were Roman Catholics. So that also explains it. But that was the norm in Ireland, large families.
Yeah, well, it's the same here as well to a certain extent. But obviously as well, you take into consideration that the further back you go, the higher the chance of like children dying. So people did have bigger families. There was that aspect as well. But that doesn't negate from the fact that since the 1970s, I don't know which year in particular, but it's I think it's 1972 was the last year in the UK where the birth rate was above replacement level. After that, it's gone Pete Tong. In the case of Scotland, though, last year for the first time in fuck knows how many years, it actually peaked a wee bit. It went up the way instead of down. But prior to that, it was a record low as it's ever been since records began because nobody's having children. Yeah, and what's our government doing in the meantime? What's our government doing to address the issue? Let's just open the borders and import people while we promote feminism in schools. Yes, that will help the birth rate. Let's just continue to feminize or promote feminism to little girls and, eradicate the gender stereotypes and get women into CEO positions, etc. Because that will somehow save the Scottish people from an impending doom, But then I could get really conspiratorial because this is where sustainable development goals and that shit comes in, which is one of my talking points. Then I say it all the time. There's a fucking reason that all these multi-billionaires are backing feminism. Sustainable Development Goal 5 is gender equality. That's promoting feminism, etc. It's all about promoting feminism on a wider scale. Bill Gates at TED Talk talking about we could reduce the population by 10 to 15% if we had better education for girls, better vaccines, etc. It's all about promoting feminism in every institution, every nation, so organically the birth rate goes down. Just so happens that you're seeing the worst effects of it here.
Of course.
That's what it's about.
Totally. Another thing, sorry, I know I sound like I'm hijacking your chat, but I'm reading the comments here.
No, well, fuck it. 2 seconds. Can I just get them in before?
Do that, and then I'll go.
Does anybody wish to join the stream? Over here. Instead of referring to the chat, you can just join it if you want.
Can I nominate somebody to join the chat?
On you go.
Big Ragnar. He sounds like a lot of fun.
I've been on stream with Ragnar,
Yeah, I've only heard one stream of his. It was with that a guy's name. He's got all the tattoos, wears sunglasses.
Dangerfield,
Yeah, Dangerfield. Yeah, that's the only time I'd ever heard Ragnar's voice.
Fucking big Bob Ragnar, he's got the stereotypical speaking of an Irish voice. He's the sort of kind of you'd expect him. Sitting in a rocking chair or so much up there.
I've got a soft spot for Northern Irish because I've mostly met Northern Irish people and they're pretty good. They're pretty good crack,
I've never been there.
I've been to Belfast. I went to Titanic exhibition. It was really good. And there was an Irish PSNI guy and he was so strong accent right in your face. It was hilarious. I kind of started laughing, but luckily he never caught on that I was laughing at his accent. Not at him, but it was just hilarious.
What the fuck's happening here? Oh shit. I feel like I was muffing up, man. But nah. Irish accent. I don't mind the Irish accent. There's only a few accents I actually despise in the UK, and it's I really hate the Scouse accent. Or certain parts of the Scouse, Liverpool, and Birmingham. I can't stop Birmingham. The really deep voice. I'm from Birmingham. Fuck off! Get me.
I've heard a Liverpudlian guy said, but she's just a little girl. I mean, what the hell? I find it retarded. But she's just a little girl, and it's minging.
Aye. But then there's a place in Aberdeen, in Scotland called Keith, right? And fucking, I was working there once, and I'd never in my life heard this accent before. It was that bad. I couldn't understand a word. I could not understand a word. I think because the guy I was working with had to translate. He was like, "Oh, she's asking if you want a cup of tea." All I was hearing was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck is this?"
Even I don't know what the hell you said there.
The fuck was up the hell? And the husband came in, he's like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, right, I'm going home, man. I don't like this shit. It's like Hills of Eyes bullshit going on here. Okay,
It's mad. I mean, I'm fascinated by accents, but some of them really boggle my mind. But the one I really like, very regional, is Yorkshire accent. I like that of all the English, and then I like Geordie because Geordie.
Fuck no.
The Geordies are one of us. They're pretty decent. I like them.
The accents that just make me want to die. Yeah. When you hear them, you know that. Am I thinking of Towie in that the adverts for Towie? Like I don't watch Towie obviously, but when you hear them, like, oh, Joe, like we're going to the beach and that, man. No, fuck you. I'm not going to any beach. Fuck that accent. Right.
The worst, in my opinion, of England is Birmingham. So if there's any Brummies out there, I'm not slagging you. It's just your accent is atrocious, and I cannot make out what you guys are saying. But other than that, Brummies are fine. Brummies are cool. The ones I've met.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, Ragnar.
If anybody else wants to join, I'll give you the link. Like I'm just not posting it in a public chat.
No, one of our greatest fucking supporters, and sort of he shares all our posts everywhere he can. Is Michael Pagan? He's a Liverpudlian, and in live streams and stuff, that man just gets fucking literally abuse for being a Scouser.
I won't go that far. Abuse them, like, but they're not saying. It just depends which part of the city they're from. Certain dialects just irritates me. I suppose it's because I come from a part of Scotland where we don't really have that much of a Scottish twang, so every accent sounds a bit strange to me up here.
Well, my kid's mother was Glaswegian. She moved here 20 odd years ago, and she never lost her accent. But she moved to East Belfast, and East Belfast is like, you know what I mean, like, I'll have you fucking shot.
Aye, some belter accents. Like, I mean, the Edinburgh accent depends. Like, again, it's like it depends which part of Edinburgh.
Edinburgh's softer, is it not?
Sorry.
Edinburgh's softer, is it not, as an accent?
Aye, but there's parts of it though, like where it's pretty abrasive. Like, you know, like my ex, for example, you see when she would get going on the drink or whatever, she'd be like, oh, look, hey, look, hey. You know what I mean? Like the way that they speak, it's just very strange. Whereas you would expect them to be all posh in that part of the country, but no.
Yeah. I love going to Scotland. I am actually literally Ulster Scots. Half my family are Scottish. The other half are Ulster folk. So my grandfather came here as a World War II veteran, injured, was nursed back to health by my grandmother. He was a wee tiny fucking lady from Newton Hurge, Glastry Concubum, we call it. And the two of them married and had fucking 6 kids. Sadly, 2 of them died. But when he had his heart attacks and all his fucking what was it called? PTSD. She claimed she lifted that man out of bed, and he was like 6'3", and she was like 5'2". She lifted him out of bed and put him in a fucking suit with his medals on, and sat him in the corner of the living room. When we went to visit his kids, you know, it was like, oh, granda, you know. But them days, guys, just seem to be fucking long gone.
They are. I mean, fucking the only sort of person that was like in my close proximity, family wise, it was sort of attached to the ways of old was my granddad. Very, very nationalistic man. I think that's where I get a lot of my talking points from. I'm like a fiery version of him, essentially. But I mean, he was very like proper pro-Scottish independence, couldn't stand the EU, all that stuff. But it's more. I was more interested in like the further up his family tree you went. I didn't know that. I didn't meet the guy. He passed away well before I was born. But one of his uncles was the what are they called? A pipe major for the fucking king during the First World War. Like literally was playing the bagpipes during World War One. Head of one of the regiments in the Highland divisions. But he was also a pipe major for the king. That's fucking quality, stuff like that's interesting. And then I was learning about all my great granddad's brothers that were in the war and whatnot. I mean, for fuck's sake, like an army of them in and of themselves, like that. The days of old, so I think that's what my granddad clinged on to. But nowadays, nothing really like that. Just I don't know. I think just overall in general, we're letting go of our society essentially. Yeah? We are.
We're letting go of our actual history. What our forefathers.
Essentially, people don't really give a shit about that stuff. And people are, I mean, I was kind of guilty of myself for that when I was a kid, a teenager, and that it was just. You just lived each day as it came. You didn't really give a fuck about anything else apart from what you were going to do that day and what you were going to do for money and whatnot. You didn't give a fuck about anything else.
But do you not think, guys, that's due to the fucking Marxist education system?
Well, I didn't really have that up here, though. Like, I tell you, honestly, Inverness seems to be relatively sheltered. Like, I lived a fucking different life to most boys my age from other parts of Scotland. But I just think it's just the culture up here, though, was pretty fucking degenerate when I look back in hindsight. I mean, the amount of stuff that we were getting up to, far too young, put it that way. Stuff my mum wouldn't have dreamt of doing, put it that way, or my granddad or whatever. Anyway, but it just was the norm up here, still is, I think.
Playing fingerball with fishy family fucking.
Oh, a lot fucking worse than that, man. It was the end thing, yeah, but I think the point is, nobody shit about the wider implications. Nobody gave a fuck.
Ragnar, you really have way of words, and you're entertaining me. It's hilarious.
Just totally torpedoing my stream, from our.
Sorry, I apologize.
I think in a wider context, nobody really gave a shit about Scottish history. Yeah, you learned it in school and that, but it's not like we were all sitting there in awe of what we were being taught. It was just a lesson, and for half of the class, they were bored and wanted it to fucking end.
Here, guys, do you mind if I give a quick shout out to a couple of guys? We have Steve Clay, my brother from another mother, my mod brother. We have John Enoch Powell, who is just a legend. Where are we? America's Guard. I've only met him a couple of times, but he is brilliant.
One of the very few people that I actually see that comes over to Scots Armour stream from like my when I say my neck of the woods, I mean from my subscribers. I've got quite a lot of subscribers, but I never really see them over on Scots Armour or stuff.
But I don't get notifications of your live streams.
Fuck knows, mate. Maybe you click the wee bell. Yeah,
I've literally clicked the fucking big black bell at the top.
Oh, fuck knows. I never go by the notifications anyway. Not that I get any. I've become accustomed to just searching for people that I want to go and watch.
But do you not drop like Dangerfield does? He drops a link into his Telegram.
I haven't been doing that recently, but my head's 9 times out of 10, my head's up my arse these days. That's probably why you've noticed a massive uptick in the amount of content I've been producing.
That's what your belly button's for, so you can see out.
But everybody's got their means of distractions. So I just decide to focus on showing everybody what the fuck's happening in the country, I guess. But aye.
Sorry, I was going to say, I agree with Ragnar about non-notifications. Sometimes I don't even know you're on, and I'm just scrolling through YouTube, and then I come across you're in a live, and I thought, oh, it's been like 40 minutes. Sometimes
I've done 4 streams now. I think I've promoted 2. The other 2 have no bottom arse. But I don't know. It's like I'm not going to do a no chance and post it 3 times in a fucking row in case you missed it twice on Telegram. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm live. 2 minutes later, I'm live. Another 2 minutes later, oh, I'm live. Fuck off, mate. I know you're live. It's just Jesus Christ, But
no, I think it's just Susan being a twat.
Aye. Yeah, I better play a bit more of this. I know I've invited Ragnar on.
He's still with that fucking, what is it, bowl cut fucking feminist.
Oh, Thin Lips, the bowl cut. I skipped her, eh?
Oh, you skipped her. Thank fuck for that, hey. I was about to shoot myself in the dick.
Can you see my screen? Like, I've got a wee Muslim on now.
No, all I can see is StreamYard in the comments.
What the fuck? Wait a minute. Something.
I'm on my phone, but
live.
Wait a minute. I'll say that again. I'll put it on.
Scots Armour is what, 31, 32. He's been teaching me how to go live. We tried a sort of a stream the night with just a private stream with Jack London, and it seemed to work. But you can't see my camera, but you can hear me. So I'm sorting out a computer and everything else, but I'm shit at that stuff. I need my kids to come and set it up for me because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Mate, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing half the time. Have you ever seen the amount of mistakes I'm making these streams? Yeah, I'll get used to it.
I just press buttons, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to streaming, I'm a bit the same than I like, but fuck it. It is what it is. We're not professionals, and we don't intend to be one. Right? Can you see my wee Mickey Mouse Muslim now?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I genuinely can't remember if she says anything of relevance. I can't remember her speech, but her as well. You'll never. This is a tranny. They have a transgender. There's a little tranny there, but I fuck up. Oh, she's not playing. Why is she not playing?
Delighted to be here, standing shoulder to shoulder against hate, standing shoulder to shoulder against racism, and standing shoulder to shoulder against Islamophobia. Because you see, when one community is under fire, we are all under a fire. And that's why we need to come together and work together to end
Whoa.
Sorry. No, I was logging onto another ID to follow the actual chat.
All right, me boy. That's right.
I've just muted it, but I'm still watching it. It's Mrs. Towelhead.
Because this world is thriving on hate. War is all around us, and Islamophobia and racism is growing. One of the many reasons that Islamophobia and racism and hatred is growing is the media rhetoric that is out there today. The media rhetoric that every time you open a paper, there is a negative story about a Muslim, about a marginalised community.
Maybe that's because Muslims do things that generate fucking false or negative stories. I mean, I don't know what the hell to tell you at this point.
Or alternative, they perceive everything and it's not actually happening.
Oh, well, there's that aspect of it as well.
I think 99.9% of racial incidents is all in their head. They're perceiving it because they're looking for it everywhere.
Oh, there's definitely that, but I just know she's not said it yet, but it's fucking obvious, which you're probably going to allude to, and that is the good old fashioned hostile environment. They love peddling that one.
Oh yeah, they run the gauntlet every day. Nasty, evil whites are trying to attack them, beat them up. And I'm thinking, where's a horse jobby on that square that day? Somebody should have lobbed it at her head.
Guys, if you want to preserve your chats and your actual channels, do what Angry Bitnik does, and he refers to them as the followers of Al's snack bar.
I just blanket term BAME for them. If they want to call themselves, if they want to lump themselves all into one big giant community so they can stick it to the light man and call themselves the Little BAME Army, I'll call them BAMEs. No problem with me. Like, you know what I mean?
I'll call them BAMEs too because it's not an outlawed word. Not yet.
No, well, they call themselves that.
It will be soon.
No, they call themselves the BAMEs, you know? So that's fine by me. I'm used to calling them that now, and so that's what I will call them. You know, there's an element of disparaging rhetoric, undertones, I should say, when I use BAME sometimes, but they can't prove that. Maybe I'm lying right now. You'll never fucking know.
Usually it's all about confusing the algorithm when you're typing. It's like I got creative with the P people, the 4-letter word. I turned it into a 6-letter word with QUE or QUI, sorry. And it got a few laughters, but it beat the algorithm because it's still up a month later in a comment somewhere on YouTube.
Aye. Well, and then the one group of people though they can beat the algorithm just by talking into a mic is the Ouijas of this world. Scots Armour in no chance could go live right now and just completely lambast every BAME community going with the most racist rhetoric you can imagine. Guarantee you, provided nobody had reported them, that stream would still be up tomorrow morning because nobody understands a fucking word they say.
Because of their accent,
Guys, you wouldn't believe the amount of former servicemen, English, Scottish, Welsh, and even fucking Southern Irish that are my neighbours here in Ulster.
Oh, fully,
and they have fled. They have fled. You have Jack London. You have DDJ from the Bard. Jack London is here. He's been here for a month. He's here for another month. He's selling up in England, getting us all his things in order, his affairs in order, and he's coming across. He spent 2 or 3 days with me here, and he loved it. I said, how many black people have you seen? And he went, about 10. I said, how many black people have you seen since you come here? He went, none.
Yeah, to be fair, that sounds exactly like me up here. Like when I was going out with my ex and I went down to Edinburgh to see her and that, I felt outnumbered at times. I just don't see them really here that much. I mean, I was out quite a lot today and I never seen one. Not one. That's unheard of for other people in other parts of the UK. Yeah? But up here, it's still pretty common practice to go a whole day without seeing one, which... Some days, though, I see like quite a few. Just as hit or miss there. But the point is, though, it's not like an everyday occurrence where I'm seeing more and more yet.
Yeah. No, I was in Liddleshill a couple of years ago. It was Tesco's, sorry, and the British government had invited. They had literally forced what do we call it, family on us. At the time of the war, what did you call them people? Men in white dresses, I call them. Men in white dresses, do. And they arrived into Tesco's one night in Ballymoney, and every white head in the place just turned around and went, "What the fuck?" They lasted a week before they left.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason why you enter fucking housing estates here, and it says we do not tolerate scum.
Yeah, I could tell you some stories about Africans I used to live nearby, but I think if I was to reveal that story in too much detail, I would be just in the off chance the BAMEs that are included within that family ever watch the stream, then they're me dogs. I will tell you as well. Here's a little bit of weird information for you. There's a woman that I've seen trolling about some of the streams as of late, and I'm pretty sure I'm fucking related to her. Like, she's no idea. Like, it's very bizarre, very strange that there's a potential family member who watches the same stuff as me, and I had no idea. But anyway.
Resisting the lies. According to Johnny Enoch Powell, you're a daywalker. Or sorry, you're a vampire.
Who, me?
You only go out in the dark.
No, the fuck. Well, fuck you. No, I'm an insomnia. I'm technically, since I stopped drinking booze, I'm technically back to my old ways of insomnia, which is a right bastard. Like, but anyway, I better more of this because I know I don't even know how many people are watching and whatnot. But I'll finish what this boot says. I'll put on Graham Campbell to culminate the ending of me played videos, and then we'll see what's what. All right.
Here, just a massive shout out, guys. Thank you for the invite. Really appreciate it.
The invite's open to anybody else as well if they're still watching. Like,
and if as soon as Scots Armour showed me how to go live and bits and pieces, and me and Jack London done a couple of tests and stuff, and I can literally go live, but I can't share a picture because I'm just on a mobile phone. But I literally really appreciate the support, guys, and I would like you guys to come on to a live chat with me, and if you can get 42 on.
Yeah, your man's got him plugged in for next week after Mojo.
Yes.
I think that's the same guy I was talking to about father's rights issues and whatnot. But because my head's so up my arse at the moment, I'm very bad for replying to people there. So I think I'm still to reply to a message of him from like fucking 3 weeks ago. If it's the same guy, it might be a different one. I don't know.
No, for 42 was on Dangerfield and done a 3-hour stream about the troubles in Belfast. Now, I grew up in the middle of the early 70s and 80s, and I grew up in the troubles. But we only had 2 or 3 bombs here. And yes, we did have shootings and we did have kneecappings and this, that, and the other. But 42 grew up in East Belfast, and they literally had 1,300 attacks a year.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Not all bombs. Don't get me wrong, guys. Not all bombs, but they literally had 1,300 attacks a year. And the only reason why the UDA and the UVF and the UFF and all formed was because of Republican violence.
Aye.
Yeah.
Let's just hope though that you never go back to the ways of old in that respect. That's definitely one time I can say no more brother wars. Like definitely fucking not. No, going back really in that regard. Especially what's happening now in the Republic of Ireland. If there's ever been a more like valid reason for Irish people to fucking come together and forget everything, is all the negativity and the religious differences and whatnot, it's fucking now. Like now, I don't mean in terms of like reunification. I just mean like you, especially the southern part of Ireland, democratically speaking, you're in fucking trouble, like serious trouble.
It's basically pushed back with some persuasion. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, fucking hell, like definitely in a bit of trouble. Like every part of the British Isles, I'd say the Republic of Ireland's in.
I watched Computing Forever. And Gran Torino, and they were sharing videos of this young. He must have what 13, 14-year-old kid walking through a park, and these how come we do BAMEs.
Aye. Is that you about the wee boy that was getting stabbed to fat like if that's
they kicked the living shit out of him.
Yeah.
And they filmed themselves doing it, and they blamed it for 400 years of slavery. The Irish never enslaved anybody.
No, I know. It's the same. Like they do the same shit in Sweden as well. Yeah, the fact that who did Sweden enslave? Like, but it doesn't matter what part of Europe you're from or whatever. They see you as all white. So I do, in that respect, see the argument for pan-Europeanism and whatnot, because they see us all as the same anyway. But nah, not for me.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to follow the chat here, but I think Steve Cray has dropped a link for the Scrubs lifeboat, and you guys is more than welcome. It's a chill zone. It's a white chill zone. For our own people. I don't know if you follow it or not.
I mean, my Scottish chat's near enough dead at this point. Like, I don't even bother commenting it anymore. It used to be one of the best chats going on Telegram, like when it was full to the brim of Scots, lively bastards. Like, but it's just dead now. Fucking dead.
But we were literally building up the Bard music group, the Bard literature, the Bard arts. And it's a white nationalist community, and
that's well these days.
It just literally peaked and stopped.
Do you know what it was though? And I mean, you might never admit it. I think it was DD's departure from Telegram for those months. It just died.
Well,
departure. Like
he admits that himself. I literally have
fucking advice because he was always getting on at me for I should be doing this and I should be doing that to keep my chat live and going and whatnot. I was like, fuck off, but it's a Telegram chat. I don't give a shit, you know. But looking back in hindsight, I wish I'd listened to his advice, and in hindsight, he should have listened to his own advice because maybe Bard would be a lot more talkative like it used to be.
He called me when he came back because I tried to phone him several times when he had disappeared, and he wouldn't answer my calls. And he's now in love with a Northern Irish lady, and of course he's moving here. And he says, to be honest, Stephen, he says, I just felt burnt out. He says, I've been trying to build this community for fucking so long, and nobody's.
No, I'll give Didi his credit, like, because I mean, he's one of my oldest friends from Telegram, like, and he always used to take it far. I used to think he was taking it too seriously, you know. I'm like, mate, it's a fucking app, get a grip, like, but he was all this advice and all these ideas that he had, full ideas, and I think if more people had kind of tuned into his way of thinking, he could have really started to build something. But you know,
have you been in a voice chat with him?
Oh yeah, of course I have, man. You know, I've got my Facebook for fuck's sake.
He never fucking stops. It's like
I know that he's not here. It's me doing it.
any chance we can get a word in sideways, you know?
Oh, it's bad. Like sometimes I'll be on the phone to him for an hour, and I would get about 2 minutes of that hour to talk, and the rest was him.
Yeah.
What the fuck's the point of this? What is the point of this? He'd phone me up for a wee call about something, and he'd ask me for my opinion. I'd get halfway through my sentence, he'd bat in, and that'd be the end of it. An hour later, he's still going, and he's like, right, well, I'll catch you later. I'll call you later. And all right, cheers for that, pal. You just wasted an hour of my life, you know? For fuck's sake. Didi, man.
Baz. Evening, bud. Baz is another great guy. Linda Hunter is an absolute legend, and now we have the fucking porno in.
Oh, for fuck's sake, yeah.
Yes.
What the hell is that? Is that a troll or is that a bot?
That's a bot. That's literally a bot. But I mod for fucking several other chats, and we're fucking plagued with them.
Can you not block? Can you not block that one? The mods? No.
Well, I'm sitting here on Ragnar 71 in the live chat, but I'm Ragnar Ironspear, and with you guys, I literally have 3 IDs on YouTube because I have literally been banned 5 times off YouTube.
I've been banned once. This channel, my profile is basically a replica of my previous one, which got yeeted about November time. All because I basically pointed out on a stupid forum, on a stupid channel, that there are only 2 genders, everything else is a mental illness. But the fact that it was removed, I repeatedly kept posting it, and then they said I have violated community standards. And here's the cruncher, which is hilarious. The inciting hate, distress, and alarm. And I'm like, right off. It's the truth.
And then there's me that's had this channel for fuck knows how many years now. Don't get me wrong, I've had a rake of strikes and stuff, but how long have I had it for? I've had it since 2016, 13th of June, April 2016.
Oh, that's a long time.
I know. Just an everyday guy who woke up to the corruption in the world. I was such a fucking gay boy back then. You know, my first video was about chemtrails. Yeah, I'm standing in the building site, the top of the roof, with my phone out, just recording chemtrails. You know, fucking gone are the days, man. But I look at this as well, though. This goes to show our shit YouTubers now, right? Because I made a video. This was like 2 years ago.
Sorry for the interruption. You see, in the chat, you'll find a guy called Ragnar71.
Is that you as well?
Mod him, and I can get rid of the fucking porno then with Steve, because Steve Cray is a mod legend.
Where fucking what is it? Linda Hunter.
Linda Hunter is a scrubette goddess.
Where the fuck's Ragnar? I don't see it. Oh, there you are. Shit! Alright, so I thought he was asking for a link for the thingy.
I've offered to marry her, but she said no.
I've learned my lesson. I'm not going anywhere near any fucking women that I meet online or whatever. Bad idea. Bad fucking idea. Like.
Me and my missus, we are never getting married. We agreed to that. We've been together 4 years, and we're quite happy living in our own houses and putting up with each other, shall we say? But we're not going to get married. So
well, I'll just say one thing: if that fair enough, if that's what you want to do it. But then, if you ever have a child, just make sure you're on a birth certificate, like because if you're not married, then you're gonna.
Can I just mention that? I'll tell you quickly because she's not here and she's never likely to hear the stream. She's not able to have children.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Eh?
No, it's all right. She had problems when she was a teenager that they had to remove parts of her, so she's not able to have children. But it doesn't seem to bother her. And unfortunately, she's a half and half when it comes to ethno and civ. She agrees with some of the stuff I say, but she never completely contradicts or argues. She just says you're entitled to your opinion, but don't expect others to agree with you because it could be problematic. So good advice she gave, but she's a bit of a, well, people should come in if they're legal, regardless of where they come from.
Oh no,
not quite a closed borders type, but you know what? I'm working on it. Quite
right. But right. I'm going to show you something quickly. I mean, before I play.
No, don't send dick pics. Don't send dick pics.
No.
And booby pics instead.
You only see my dick. Nah, you boys only see my dick pics on OnlyFans. So it's OnlyFans / Resisting Lies. But, where the fuck is Ragnar saying? I'll just quickly do this. Yeah, there you go.
The last dick pic I sent, I literally had to take it from the Hubble telescope.
Like, right, here, do you see this though? Right, this is probably, if you want to watch a video of me simping, which I'm not playing, but you know it's out there. Essentially, it was me giving a wee thank you to people that gave me a shout out because it helped me get to 1,000 subs. Right, but look at the fucking date on that. Right, the 19th of September 2020. Right, I had 1,000 subs. It took me all that time to get there. Right, look how many subs I've got now. We're fucking 2 years later, and I've got. Fuck's sake, what am I doing? If I go on, oh yeah, no, there's it there. Hi, 1,606. Whether you can see it. So I've managed to gain 600 subs in 2 fucking years almost since then.
Here, I literally have been trying. I think I have 204 subs, and then I went onto YouTube and then pressed the cross in the middle to go live, and it says you cannot go live on a mobile device, not unless you have 1,000 subs.
Yeah.
So I went, right, okay, and then it says you must have 50 subs to go live on like a laptop or something like that. There, and I saw that, and it was Scots Armour. Says, look, bud, he says, give me a message, I'll sort you out. He taught me through it through StreamYard, so I can go through StreamYard.
Yeah.
Right. But my camera doesn't work. But
you don't really need to show your face anyway if you don't want to. You know, it's
no.
Be on the window showing your face, like.
No, but I don't care if people see me or not, because most of the scrubs and everybody else knows what I look like.
Aye, but I mean, if you're concerned about doing streams or your camera doesn't work, I mean, you know what I mean? Don't really think that's an issue that people would care that much about.
A word of advice, Ragnar. Even though you say people know who you are, but just be careful. Don't self-dox yourself for all the twats out there who don't know what you look like. I mean, I don't know what you look like. And to me, I know that it's probably not your real name, but to me, you're just Ragnar Iron Spears. Same with you, DJ. You're just resisting the lies. And I'm content to regard you as that without knowing what either of you look like.
Well, I mean, I've not made it that obvious who I am in real life, but I mean, a few people do know who I am. But I'd say Ragnar's in a much better position in terms of like where he lives. Northern Ireland's a much better place to live. Scotland. People found out who I was here, which it isn't impossible. There is people out there that I wish didn't know who I was, do know who I am.
We all have that.
But there's people in this quote movement, if you will, that are kind of a bit uneasy about the fact they know who I am. But like all it would take is for some bastard to sprag that, and then it goes about where I live, and the next thing you know, well, there you go, I'm fucked potentially with their hate crime laws and all the rest of it. But I wanted to point this out quickly before I look at this, the amount of subs that No Chance had on that same fucking period of time, 3,000. Yeah. Right? And now he's got like nearly 7,000. So he's managed to gain 4,000 near enough subs in the same period of time. I've gained 600. That's just bullshit. Fucking not on. And I put out like 5 times as many videos as him. That's shadow banning at its best.
Oh, by the way, guys, Steve Cray's off to bed, so we have no mod in the chat.
I've already modded the 71 now.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm there.
Do you know how many subs I have? Fuck all, because I don't make content or anything. But I tried to upload a video. It was a 20-minute stream I made the other day, not live, but it would not go through. And maybe I need to get Scots Armour to help me as well at some point.
I love when you come on streams and stuff, because you literally speak the truth, and you're not like from Glasgow, so we can understand what you're saying.
I just could not. I don't know much about it because I've never done an upload or anything like that. I only participated on a couple of streams in the past year. But my stream, well, the podcast I was doing pre-recorded was just about general rantings about the political scene around Scotland. And I stole a few of your words, DJ. I said, the thin-lipped boot who calls herself the First Minister. But it was just basically all that. My usual political rants. Probably wouldn't have gained many, but I was disappointed. I had to scrap it. And
come on, guys. She's the leader of the Scottish Nationalist Party, the SNP.
Don't make me start making a story about Ragnar. That's a bad idea, right? You know, I've got many videos on this channel of her disavowing nationalism. So, you know.
Where is the £600,000 donations went?
Oh,
and
she got dominatrix material for her, not fucking gay boy husband. Where is that video, man?
She bought a brand new villa in the south of France.
For her and her girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. £600,000 went missing out of her fucking donations from her Scottish nationalist supporters. And they won't know where the money went. We all know where the money went, you know. And if she's married in a healthy relationship to a man that's 20 odd years older than her.
Oh, he's gay as fuck, like. I mean, it's really a sham marriage.
The last time he heard his own fart was like a fucking listening to a panpipe.
There's an interview of her on Loose Women, and I said she makes out that like he does all the cooking and the cleaning and that. Like, I mean, just, I mean, of course, the thin lips.
Oh, by the way, Jerry Delaney, lovely guy, is looking to be modded too. He's a nice enough guy.
Oh, Jerry, I will get back to you. I did see you said something on Telegram. I haven't been partying, as I said. I don't really use it that often. But I am modding up. But I keep fucking getting confused with the way that I'm doing it. There we go.
I'm thinking when I eventually do another recording, I'm thinking I might just create a separate channel, call myself the Anonymous.
I'll suggest this. Use the software that I use. It's fucking free.
What software is that?
Literally, no. If you're meaning to record your screen in it, just use a PowerSoft. I've been using the same fucking thing since I started, and it's free. All these people buying like top range editing software or not. Fuck that.
Oh no, I'll never buy. I'll just
literally record your screen. You pause it and start it, and you can dictate how much of the screen you record, etc. You know, why waste money when you can download something for free that's the same job?
And you know what? And there's more chance of being identified if you leave a paper trail. I want to be called the Anonymous Nationalist for that reason. That's what
just call yourself Anonymous.
Well, I'm more of a nationalist than the SNP. It was my point was making about it.
Well, we will decide if that's the case after we listen to Graham Campbell. I just wanted to remind people of this. I wanted to remind myself of Graham Campbell. There's no doubt at this time of night, like my fucking throat again. I'm starting to feel like Doc Cotter now, but yeah, listen to this. This is the future of Scotland. This is Scottish nationalism, folks. You know, this is essentially culminates everything we've listened to tonight. Anti-racism in its purest form. This prick from Jamaica, born and raised in England, you know, and he comes to Scotland, and all of a sudden he's Scottish, and he's standing at an SNP conference, and he's telling us what he envisions for the future of us as a people, and it's met with thunderous applause because they're a bunch of wankers. But here he is here, Graham Campbell.
Soon. But the fact that allowed us to make that discussion point about unconscious bias was why we wanted to bring this to conference. Let's have an honest discussion about where we are with racism. We tend to think that because we're all Jack Tampson's bairns, there's often been a minimizing of the problem that we generally have. But I can tell you that pretty much most BME people I know have had daily microaggressions, little experiences of racism. I'll give you one. People unconsciously, subtly have these things in them because we are born into a racist society. All of us have this, by the way. Me too. You know, we all have it because our country has this history of white supremacy and racism and imperialism. So if we want to decode that, dismantle it, decolonize it, we have to name it and shame it and actually work out what these institutions are, how they work. Unconscious bias is part of institutionalized patterns of discrimination. We have to look at the institutions, try to dismantle them a bit, and actually move on from it because we're tackling the problem directly and naming it honestly and having an honest discussion about it. This applies obviously across all discriminations. But I wanted to sort of really finish my remarks by saying this, my own experience, I suppose. I'm very confident that the future of Scotland will be a very non-racial and anti-racist country because we are grappling with rejecting an imperialist British viewpoint of what a nation is and what it can be. We're rejecting an ethnocentric definition of what that nation is. We're setting an example of civic nationalism and inclusion, which means that we have a national identity which is going to be different. It's not going to be what it is now. We're preparing a future where people can define a Scots person non-racially. But for that to be possible, the reality of the inequality economically in the labour market, you know, I look at my own council.
Yeah, you get the point, but you know, we're rejecting the British idea of, you know, ethnocentrism, etc., you know. So we're going to be non-racial in the future. So essentially, you can look at a Scots person non-racially, so a black guy, white guy, Chinese guy, and you're told to pick the Scot. You're not going to have a fucking clue. It could be any one of them because they're all just as Scottish as each other. Nah, my DNA would suggest otherwise.